Hello there, good morning, welcome to the AM News. Speaker of Parliament Alban Gbagbin has referred Asin Central Member of Parliament Kennedy Ejapong to the Privileges Committee for his threats on the life of a journalist with the multimedia group Erastus Asari Donkop. The MP on his Net2 TV program suggested the journalist who had covered the Ijira disturbances and appeared before the investigative committee ought to be beaten. The referral came after Tamale North Member of Parliament Al-Hassan Suhini raised the issue on the floor.
Mr. Speaker, I therefore call on you to exercise your powers under 27 to refer Honorable Kennedy Ohini Ajekum, whose acts and conducts, Mr. Speaker, continue to affront the dignity of Parliament and bring it into disrepute, as captured under Order 32. Mr. Speaker, my basis is on the conduct of the said member on his own television network, which has caused another network, Joy FM, to refer him to the CID for investigation. Mr. Speaker, the letter from Multimedia to the CID quotes what he said on his show. Mr. Speaker, I also have a copy of the said program as attached to the petition sent to the CID. And this letter by Multimedia is dated July 13, 2021, where he is copiously referred to as the chairman of the Committee of Defense and Interior.
Well, the Speaker then referred the matter to the Privileges Committee.
The House's attention is drawn to the conduct of one of our members. And under Order 27, which I want to quote in extenso, it says, notwithstanding anything contained in these orders, Mr. Speaker may refer any questions of privilege to the Committee of Privileges for examination, investigation, and report. Notwithstanding anything contained in these orders. In spite of the word notwithstanding, the Speaker is giving the discretion, says may refer any questions of privilege. I think that is why the honorable member is seeking my intervention to refer the matter to the Privileges Committee.
Away from Parliament, accident statistics for the first half of 2021 show an alarming number of people are losing their lives in motorbike-related incidents. Of the 1,450 fatalities between January and June this year, 622 died in motorbike accident. About 2,500 were also injured. Interestingly, though, the northern region, where motorbikes happen to be the main mode of transport, doesn't appear to have as many deaths from motorbike accidents. So what could the riders there be doing differently? Said Kwame Boateng reports the relatively low number of fatalities has to do largely with discipline.
First-time visitors to the northern region, especially from Accra, will be struck by the number of motorbikes on the streets here. Here, men, women, and even children ride to and fro in admirable fashion. Indeed, motorbikes far outnumber cars.
Every household, there is a motorcycle. Every household, you see a motorcycle. So that the motorcycle has become the simplest medium of transportation for everybody.
In 2020, for example, while the Driver Vehicle and Licensing Authority registered 7,500 motorbikes, only 829 vehicles were registered in the entire year. The trend appears to be no different this year.
Early May, but we have registered 3,172 motorbikes so far against 593 cars.
Ironically, Statistics from the police MTTD suggest only 20 lives have been lost through motorcycle-related accidents in the region from January to June this year. In the Greater Accra region, however, 102 motorbikers have died in just 6 months, with 105 dying in the Eastern region and 86 in the Ashanti region. The National Road Safety Authority boss here, Alexander Ayata, explains why the fatalities are that low.
In the southern part, I think they basically concentrate on passenger. But here, we concentrate much on the usage of the motor. And again, I will add this. When you get to traffic lights, it will surprise you. I've been at Accra, people don't, when it is red, they're riding. But here, they will stop. Just a few, one or two will make a move. But the fact that we are able to speak to them and we give them, at times, for some time back, we need to show them films, how people dropped from their motors and broke their heads.
It is very true, especially in Accra, where they ignore the traffic light and so get crushed, fall off their motorbikes and die on the spot. And for those who die, most of them wear no helmet. But in Tamale, some places are designated no-go zones without helmets, and Mr. Ayata reviews.
Catholic Church, no helmet, no entry. You were there, you saw it. Not only the church, but any institution belonging to the church. We want to even extend it to other areas.
So how seriously riders pay attention to their safety shows in how few of them are getting injured when they are crushed compared with riders in Accra, Eastern and Ashanti. In just 6 months, while 47 motorcycle injuries have been recorded in the northern region, in the Greater Accra and Eastern regions, 600 and 285 people have been injured respectively. In the Ashanti region, 86 injuries so far. At the Tamale Teaching Hospital, there are patients who testify, but for their helmet, they would have been dead long ago.
A child was about to cross the road. I just saw the child like in a meter, a distance of a meter. So in trying to save the child, I swerved and I went off. I felt with my forehead, but then because of the helmet, my teeth hit the ground. So my teeth is actually also affected. But because of the helmet, I was able to save my head.
At various intersections here in Tamale, it is amazing how almost all riders, with the exception of a few, respect the traffic light. For them, red really means stop.
Because of the education that the MTTU and the National Road Safety Commission are giving to the citizens or the people of Tamale, they go to realize the danger in settings, like when a traffic light show red and you pass, the danger in it. It's better you hold on. When it show green, yellow, you get ready. When it show green, you start moving.
I think this is one of the ways we can do that, by obeying the traffic rules. So I think that's the rationale behind that. Okay. We are putting our own conscious effort in order to make sure that the risk of traffic accidents reduce. On our part, the government has their part, and we the citizens also have their part. So we need to all come together and then make sure that we fight against this canker in our nation.
Well, if you don't stop, there is other traffic light that shows green. So definitely, if you don't stop and that one is green, people are moving. So once you move, you collide with the others.
So if you are a rider listening or watching, just remember, respecting the red light means you cherish your life. My name is Seth Kwame Boatin.
Now, the Nifahene of Ijira has dismissed suggestions that delays by police in investigating the attack on social activist Ibrahim Mohammed led to the infamous Ijira clashes. Nanosei Kwejo and Sibie II says, though delay in handling the attack may be a factor, it cannot be the only reason for the Ijira clashes. He told the committee probing the Ijira killings distractions caused to other facilities and structures, apart from the police station by the youth, informed his decision to call in security reinforcement. Ohim Interior of our security desk sat through the committee sitting and now reports.
A contingent of chiefs clad in black cloth from Ijira Traditional Council was led by the chief of Ijira, Bema Osei Kwejo II, to testify before the committee at the Prempeh Assembly Hall Auditorium. Nana Osekwadwo Ansabi, Denifahini, described by the committee as a man with military background, led the chiefs to testify.
At least my professor has said a lot about you. So at least sitting here, I know that you have some military background.
Nana Ifahini, yes, my lord has already let the cat out. I didn't want to. You have a military background.
And the man with military background went ahead to disagree with suggestions by chairman of the committee, George Kingsley Kumsin, that the disturbances would not have escalated had the municipal commander been proactive with complaints on attack on Kakamechu.
My lord, knowing Ijira as it is, and the sort of violence and those things that come in, whether they took immediate action or they delayed, I believe those who did what they did would have done the same thing. It might have contributed to it, but definitely is not the only reason for that.
Not even further questioning from the chair could make Nana Osekwadwo change his stance.
If I understand you, you are saying that if the municipal police commander had even acted proactively on the complaint lodged in respect of the assaults on Kaka, the youth will still have done what they did.
Yes, my lord.
For a man who supports deployment of the military to complement the under-resourced police service in Ijira, the vehicle used by the officers is of less concern to him.
I wish to state that as to whether the vehicle had Operation Calm Life or COVID on it, there are soldiers in it who came to perform the duty.
Nana Osekwadwo proposed the establishment of a military detachment in Ijira to deter the youth who may want to take a similar path in the future.
One situation starts this way. By the time you get reinforcement, under the circumstances we all operate, or let me say all the services operate, it becomes very difficult. So we think that if we have them around, or a detachment around, they will reinforce the police. And then also, I must say, the police, not that I'm not passing judgment on their performance, but if you say a policeman is coming, there are some people who are doing something, or maybe, let me say, misbehaving. Maybe we just turn around and smile. But the knowledge that we have one or two soldiers even coming around is enough to deter.
But does politics play out in the Ijira clashes and beyond? Please, don't laugh at Nana Osekwadwo's answer.
There's nothing that happens in Ijira that you can take politics out of it. In Ijira, everything, including weddings, engagements, everything, there's some element of politics in it, depending on who is doing it.
Meanwhile, sitting is suspended until Friday. From Kumasi, for Joy News, Ijira reporting.
Students of Jama and Pensai Senior High Technical School at Abuaso in the Kwabre East District of the Ashanti region have developed a technology that generates electricity from plants and bacteria from soil. Ghana is well endowed with renewable energy resources which are yet to be fully exploited. Renewable energy currently contributes about 1% of the energy mix, but the aim is to achieve 10% by 2030. This technology by the students, when scaled up and adopted, could accelerate Ghana's ambitious targets. On Tech Thursday, Love FM's Kwesi Deborah speaks with the innovators.
We pick the soil from this farmland and the deep forest. It already contains glucose. And
the plant microbial fuel cell technology was produced from electricity-generated bacteria like Escherichia coli and Pseudomonas aeruginosa. The students also used soil samples from ponds, farmlands and forests. Janet Ohima Nkansa is one of the students that worked on the technology.
Our project is about plant
microbial fuel cell technology for renewable energy creation. And it's all about using plants to generate electricity, and not only plants but bacteria from soil. And in our project we use soil from the deep forest, the pond, and also farmland. And our project, we can use it to charge our mobile phones, our small fans, calculated, and even use it to light our LED.
Nickname G-Pana, meaning Jama Pensine Powerhouse. The technology is housed in a rectangular structure. Both the plants and soil containing the bacteria are packed together in a number of bowls connected with electricity wires, expected to facilitate reaction to generate the electricity. Christolav Mogo Arthur, another team member, explains the scientific principle employed.
We use the principle based on the redox reaction, and we use photosynthesis. During photosynthesis, what's happening? The amount of glucose stored, and the bacteria feeds to generate electricity. That's the idea we use generally. So that's how we came about generating our electricity, which is capable of charging our mobile phone, as you can see here, and as my colleague said already.
Charger connected. As you can see here, it's charging. Switch on the switch.
Chemistry teacher Frank Ajakum, together with other tutors from the school's science department, led the team to put together the technology.
You have to use bacteria, and not all the types of bacteria. We have those that are capable of generating electricity and others that cannot do that. And so we came out with this innovation, dividing our chambers into MFCs that are required to add up voltages in series to get a total voltage required to generate certain electricity to power certain electrical devices such as mobile phones. So it's a new technology in Ghana that has been started by our school, Jama Pensen Senior High School, and we wish to take it forward to the next level.
You can charge it as long as the bacteria are present.
Mr. Ajakum says with the necessary support, it can be scaled up to
in this way. But if you should go outside to the environment, then we can mold our principle or our project underground with some electrodes to generate electricity to power the street in Ghana. And so it is also environmentally friendly. No kind of toxic gases or greenhouse gases are being evolved.
Renewable energy is contributing to less than 10% of Ghana's energy mix. With just about 200 Ghana cities, this technology can be produced for households.
Since we are using plants, that means that our project is contributing. If you want to build it in your house or garden or farmland, that means that you need more plants to set up there to generate electricity. If you do that, that means that it's not going to cost you much, depending on the wood you want to use. If you want to use local wood, plywood to mold the setup, it will cost you less than 200 Ghana cedis.
And before we go, the Greater Accra Regional Hospital will soon be able to supply oxygen to other health facilities. This comes after the facility expanded its oxygen supply unit by laying a 350 meters pipe from the former oxygen plant to a new one, which will supply oxygen to almost all the units in the hospital and may have surplus to give out when production continues smoothly. Manager for the project, Matthew Kwedo, made this known to JoyNews after the COVID-19 Trust Fund officially commissioned a 314 million cedi pipeline project. Hannah Dami has more.
The Greater Accra Regional Hospital has been at the forefront of treating COVID-19 patients. The facility has therefore enjoyed some benefits as a result, but not oxygen to the ICU unit, which had to buy 25,000 cedis worth of oxygen weekly for COVID-19 patients in need of the life-saving commodity. Medical Director Dr. Emmanuel Srefonyo explains why the oxygen plant, which is already stationed at the facility, could not supply to the COVID-19 unit.
The oxygen plant has been delivering oxygen here, but we did not have a plant, or we did not have the pipes that lead to that side. And that is why the idea came that why don't we just have a pipe from the plant? The capacity of the plant was good. It was going to be able to continue supplying this block and also additionally can take any additional load.
An appeal to the COVID-19 fund saw the laying of a 350-meter pipe from the oxygen generating plant room to the manifold room, which then supplies oxygen to the COVID-19 ICU unit. Chair of the Board of Trustees of the fund said more funds will be needed to assist other facilities.
This is one of the quick turnaround. That, in fact, this is the most rapid turnaround we have had in terms of giving money to an institution to do something. And you've delivered, and I'm using this as an opportunity to appeal for funds.
Matthew Kwedu, who facilitated the laying of the pipes, explains how it works.
It takes atmospheric air, sends into the compressor, it compresses it. It goes into the drying system, takes out oil and water and whatever it is, sends it into the oxygen tanks. So oxygen produced will be at 93 plus or minus 3%.
Member of the board, Justice Ofe Akrufi, commissioned the oxygen unit.
I will do so in the name of God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
From the Greater Accra Regional Hospital, I am Hannah Odami for Joy News.
And from the Joy News studio, my name is Mama Vioso. That's it for the AM News. Stay with us as we bring you the review, which is in a little while.
You hear from them, even those who the chap who sang he's in the US now. Who's I'm talking of the guy who sang, there's a song I've just forgotten. He's in the US now. At least I'm just saying that from time to time you hear of these people, but Omahene
is late.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that explains it.
I'm just trying to get the other one's name that I'm thinking of. When it comes, is this Siuje? You know, there's this. I've just forgotten. No, I can't remember the. I can't remember the lyrics anyway. KK Fosu.
KK Fosu. KK Fosu has been coming around.
Yeah, that's my point. I'm saying that all of these old, like at least you would hear from them from time to time. But Omahene, well, for what we are hearing, has actually met his demise. So not surprising at all. I'll keep asking you, have you got counted yet?
No.
Still? Anyway. I don't know. Yeah. You know, we're being told that 85% of Ghanaians have been enumerated. So
maybe we are part of the...
We are part of the 15%. But we'll get there. We'll get there. It's a good thing that they're still continuing with the process.
Yeah. All right, let's go through the newspapers. I'll do the Daily Graphic, the Business Finder, the Daily Guide, and the Daily Statesman.
I'll do the Ghanaian Times newspaper, the Daily Dispatch, and the B&FT. I'll start with the Ghanaian Times newspaper. It says, threat against journalists. GJA demands prompt action from national security. And that story is on page 17. We all know about the GJA, what Roland Afeomoni has been saying. And the association succinctly says, it would be a fatal gamble to toy with the threat made by Member of Parliament for Asin Central and Chairman of the Parliamentary Defence and Interior Committee, Kennedy Ejapong, following similar threats that preceded the assassination of Ahmed Suale, another journalist, in 2019. We know of what happened on Friday, July the 9th, and the latest assault. We know our group, the Multimedia Group, has since petitioned the presidency, the Speaker of Parliament, Interior and National Security Minister, the Ashanti Regional Minister, Inspector General of Police, the Criminal Investigations Department of the Ghana Police Service. And the matter is being taken up. Now, Kennedy Ejapong dragged to Privileges Committee for threatening journalists. That's the parliamentary end of things. And We've seen how the minority is pushing for that one. Veep launches digital platform to increase revenue collection. That's on page 17, and we've been told this would save Ghana some, 40 million annually, Ghana cedis, if I'm not mistaken, which can only be good for Mother Ghana. There's also proposed toll increase to fix roads. Don't hike road tolls. 2 transport unions kick against proposal. Mama, would you be willing to pay more in terms of road tolls? Not even if it would better your roads?
Remember the experience with the flooding close to my toll. Is this my toll booth?
I can't see. I don't know whether it is.
Maybe not. Okay, so
which specific toll booth are you referring to?
This is Pobiman. I think that's the exact place where the toll booth is.
Okay.
Yeah. Remember when it rained and the place got flooded? It was my first experience, even though I've lived there for a number of years now. And I was contemplating whether to pay the toll or not, because it was just like less than a minute's drive. Because I was wondering, why hasn't this been fixed and I keep paying the toll? It occurred to me again yesterday when there was a broken down track, so it was causing a lot of traffic. Traffic because there's a hole, okay? So the track isn't or wasn't even an issue. It was broken down, it was there. We had to all make do with the one way, but we could have managed it beautifully and there wouldn't have been a buildup of traffic if the road was good. You know, so there's this big hole. I mean, it's a manhole right there. So when you get there, whatever happens, you have to slow down, like slow crash. And it's just before the toll booth. And again, when I got there, when the young lady stretched out her hand, I was just thinking, Mama V, shall I pay? And I was like, no, I for pay.
The forces were speaking to you, eh?
So more, no.
You don't
because
want to
I'm
pay
even
more.
reluctant in paying the...
So if they were going to patch up that stretch of road, you knew that it would...
I still won't pay more because I've been paying the little for a very long time now. And I haven't seen...
So the cocoa should have amounted to a bucket of water by now.
So you have to do a lot more for me to be willing to pay, honestly. This one there is not a joke.
And I don't know whether we can't retrieve it. You know, sometime back, this was on the Accra-Tema stretch. I went to one of these toll booths, and when I did the mathematics of it, I mean, this was earlier in the year, we make millions at our toll booths, many millions, millions upon millions. The question is, what do we do with them to rehabilitate the very roads that we've tolled? And what do we do even when the roads are good? Let's say the tolled road is good. What do we do with the revenue generated for other roads? Because when you look at the percentages when it comes to the roads in our country, even the tarred roads, asphalted ones, trust me, it is terrible.
I think it's an indictment when the road where they've put the toll booth, that road is not good. It breaks your heart because you're driving. Yeah, I mean, you're driving on the road that is not good and you are paying the toll. It's more painful. If the road there's no toll booth, it's fine. I'm not saying it's fine, but at least the better children. But especially when you're so close to the booth, Charlie, how many drivers? Maybe sometime we can open the phone lines. How many drivers contemplate like I do sometimes when the problem is right there?
I have a friend who had refused to pay road tolls for years, and she goes through, and they know her because she says that, I don't want to mention the stretch and all of that, but recently they put a different mechanism in place, so now she's forced to pay because it's sort of automated.
I think not paying at all is not an option because you know we all contribute to taking care of it.
Yeah, but it's the frustration. It's not that she can pay 100 times over every day, but it's all about. But you know,
we can't give up.
The song that is fitting for this situation. I
refuse to give up.
Ayo. On page 5 of the Ghanaian Times newspaper, COVID-19 cases surge in Africa with more than 6 million cases. And something we can celebrate on page 7, Dr. Educhum. I speak of the Education Minister, Dr. Yao Educhum, joining a UN advisory group. And that is some good news for Ghana. The middle spread, I've already looked at those stories. On the back page, President promises to fix roads in Sisala area. And Mama V, here's a promise. There's a road and it's going to be, fixed. President promises to fix roads in Sisala.
So the people there must keep an eye on it. I mean, and so that if it's done, you can say it. If it's not done, you can also remind Mr. President that the promise that you made, no, it hasn't been fulfilled.
You know, it's been said that the year of roads agenda, you know, last year it was hampered by COVID and all of that. This year, we're ramping it up. Let's see how it goes. National policy for aflatoxin control drafted. That's it with the Ghanaian Times newspaper.
Let's do the Daily Graphic newspaper. Agric Ministry alerts. And yesterday we had a great agricultural conversation, particularly with the fertilizers. There's a special program that will be happening also in Agric that we will carry live here on the AM show from 8 a.m. this morning. It's a breakfast meeting and launch of the Youth Smallholder Farmers in Agric Tech Africa report. We'll have some very young innovators in Agric gathering at the Alisa Hotel. We'll bring you a lot more details when we cross over live at 8. But this one on the front page, low food production in 4 regions. The Ministry of Food and Agriculture has alerted farmers to a prolonged drought this year that may result in one rainy season for some crops, particularly rice. In the southern sector, the main rainy season, which is normally from March to July every year, has moved to August and in turn shifted the minor season further backwards. This phenomenon translated into 10 weeks of drought, which occurred between March and May this year, according to the ministry. And on top of this, we know that there are lots of farmers who are not getting the subsidized fertilizer to use. Yesterday, when we did the checks, it's across the country, really. So right now, we're not even dealing with those who send the fertilizer, the reduced fertilizer to other countries. They're not even getting it, you know. So it's a huge problem, but it's good that the ministry is aware of this and they are fixing it. MPs
It's moved from Kojo to Kojo Talk to Shea.
Yeah.
That is disastrous.
There's this headline, so I tried to look at the story. It's a bit confusing to me. MPs receive salary arrears, not ex gratia. Majority Chief Whip clarifies. That's Frank Anodompre. So I think the explanation he's given from the brief is that because the committee only is able to finish its work when the particular parliament has ended, it becomes arrears from what they should have approved. But my confusion is it, okay, let me just read what he said, a little bit of it, then we can all try and digest. So he was sharing his perspective on the public anger against MPs for taking huge sums of money at the end of every parliament. And Frank Anodompre told the Daily Graphic, if an MP is supposed to take an X amount, they will say they are paying on accounts. And when the determination is made, then the difference is added. And if you factor inflation and all that, the MPs lose out. And we as public office holders must confront and speak to it. And we do not have to shy away from it, he said. Okay, so I think this is the first time, I don't know about you, that I'm getting this understanding. And that it's not your salary that has been put together over a period and given to you, but it's actually arrears because you're getting paid based on the previous committee's recommendation and not the committee for your term. Did you get it? So it's just what should have been added that is accumulated to.
And I find this explanation a bit, pardon me, bizarre, because this is not what we've known over the years. In fact, the meaning of the term ex gratia itself is given as a gift or favor. And we've known about, what exactly it stands for. So at this point in time, this explanation, I mean, it's not to say that... It's not to say that he is wrong. I guess we just have to get into the details and find out whether the arrangement has changed or whether our understanding over these years has been erroneous, because it could be that as well. So I guess we'd have to find out from Parliament what exactly these ex gratia payments are, what they entail.
In the meantime, intensive care unit testing facilities not overstretched, according to the Ghana Health Service. On page 3, it says the service has debunked assertion that the country's intensive care units and testing facilities are overwhelmed by the increase in cases of the coronavirus in the country.
So was the GMA giving us what?
So the
Spike?
Ghana Health Service said currently there were 13 empty ICU beds at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital of Rich and more than 20 ICU beds at the East Hospital. And this was at a press briefing where the Director General, Dr. Patrick Kumar-Boaji, said the situation was under control and that government was hoping to expand both facilities using the COVID-19 fund. So that's the clarity there by the Ghana Health Service. We're not overstretched. In the center spread, the Ghana Interbank Payment and Settlement System is holding public education on Ghana QR, that's GHQR, at the Achimota Retail Center in Accra tomorrow and Saturday. Our great journalists petition government to address poultry production challenges. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo is a Deputy General Secretary of the association. He was here on the show yesterday to tell us about their petition to the Agric Ministry. Regulators must improve investment environment, according to renowned economist Kwame Pienim. He's recommended that regulators of the financial services industry should put in measures to improve the investment environment. The rest of the story in the center spread of the paper on the back page, phase 2 of Obechabi-Lamte interchange progresses. It says construction of the second phase of the Obechabi-Lamte interchange covering the third tier is progressing steadily. The current construction phase, which began in March this year, is expected to include the underground storm drains in the neighborhood of the runabouts and the flyover from the Ring Road west direction of the Kwame Nkrumah Circle towards Abose Okai. This is not a regular route for me, so I have no idea what is going on. You reported after the first phase was opened, Ben. So this is your story very much. I love the picture on the back page of the paper, though. It's a very, it's so clear. I'm not sure I've appreciated the area like this, the area view of. Is this the same place where Abose Okai is like on your right? Or Kaleshi?
Yeah.
Hey!
Yeah.
And it's looking nice. Can't wait for the project to finish.
Well, so Sandy Abesisa, that is what happens when development goes through and there's some progress made. And of course, like you said, the first part was complete at the time I went there. So if the second phase, which a lot of them were complaining about, I think there's a junction down there that people were complaining about, that there was still congestion in that area. And so if this is done, then I'm looking forward to the fact that it will also ease that stretch. I think, is it Echo? Is it Pramprom? They have a junction around.
Oh, Pramprom.
Pramprom, yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
that is it.
Where the traffic lights is.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, the Daily Dispatch newspaper now. And interestingly, though, I'm just mentioning this, which is highlighted. Daily Dispatch relocating offices from Labodi. Why that interests me? Because we've always known where they've been in Labodi for so long.
Where's Uncle Ben going?
Uncle Ben Efson. I think I'll have to give him a call and find out that of our Kwashehi. It also says MPs to get $11 million tax waivers on $28 million car loans. I'll just highlight that story briefly. And in addition to the loan being facilitated by the government for the purchase of cars for members of Parliament and Council of State members, a tax waiver of $13.3 million has been tabled before Parliament to cover the importation of the cars for this category of public officials. This is in spite of the fact that the MPs and the Council of State members are paying only 40% of the loan being facilitated through the National Investment Bank for the purchase of the cars. So let's do a bit of the math. The Council of State members are getting $3.5 million, whereas the 275 MPs are getting $28 million, of which each MP is expected to receive $100,000. If you break it down properly, each MP would get close to $102,000, at least per the calculations I have made. NDC on CJ's bribery allegations. But Daily Dispatch, Anope, are relocating. Have they relocated the spelling of bribery as well? Anyway, Uncle Ben Efson, this one is just the two B's in the middle of the IASM. Ghana government platform will block 3 billion Ghana cedi revenue leakage yearly. That's according to Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. Would that it would actually serve that purpose, and that would be fantastic for Mother Ghana. Witness tells court how he was given late J.B. Dankwa's phone to charge. That story also in the newspaper. And we have one of our very own with this piece on page 5 of the paper, watching the phenomenon, Dr. Daniel Ni Inshian Macaulay from Afar. It's Eric's diaries, and Mr. Eric Mensah Ayete, who is actually with our online team. So that is it for the Daily Dispatch newspaper.
Let's do the Daily Guide, and on the front page, Nandom Chiefs Lord Nana efforts. JB's killer brought MP's phones, according to a witness. And yeah, you mentioned the details of the stories on page 6 in the Daily Guide. It just says it has emerged that Daniel Asiedueke Sexy Dondon, who is standing trial for the gruesome murder of the Abuakwa North MP, JB Dankwaidu, gave 2 mobile phones belonging to the deceased to a phone technician to unlock for him. The first time, according to the narration, was for this phone technician to charge the phone.
Yeah.
And the second time was for him to unlock 2 iPhones. Back on the front page, 3.2 million Ghana cedis alawa. NPP women chase Lordina. Minister wants faster tech pace. Ghana.gov takes off. That's how the front page of the paper looks like in the center spread. Why Ghanaians don't play at festivals abroad. That's Kin Ayesoba, Ghana's most... Kin Ayesoba offering some explanation. Yeah.
In heaven, there is no beer.
Let's see what he says. He says, most Ghanaian musicians do not get the opportunity to play festival shows abroad because they do not have live music bands. Oh, okay. I thought it was more like, apart from that, they're not well networked because you've got to put yourself in a certain position. You know, One Love and Mensa, they do a lot of the live shows. Kenai Soba as well. Wiyala also does a lot of the shows. So there's some people who are positioned. Wiyala. Okay, yeah.
I hear that
sounds more like it. Yeah.
But these are
some
fantastic.
Position them, and they are the ones that sell us. They sell Ghana. Exactly. They sell Ghana better than.
Why was Osibisa so good out there? Band doing their thing, but we seem not to help that, and we don't aid them in the system. We seem to push them. We push them to the musical periphery.
What do we do with One Love and Mensa? We rather tag them and think that they are unserious.
They make fantastic music when you
Absolutely.
listen. And you see, interestingly, these are the characters that end up on the BBC shows and the CNN shows. That should tell us something, but we still don't get it.
All right, I'm the biggest actor in Africa. Who says that? You can check him out. I don't think so, though, because I'm not sure I even know him. Okay, Ohima Messi's Tahila Experience returns on August 8th. That I know. So you can check out the rest of the stories. Inflation inches up to 7.8%. And on the back page, Langas vandalized Kwame Ayu orphanage, assault orphans at gunpoint. That's crazy. So rampaging group of young men, numbering close to 20 yesterday, besieged a property belonging to former Black Star striker Kwame Ayu at Otano near Trasacco Valley, Accra. The group succeeded in physically assaulting some of the orphans at gunpoint, resulting in the opening of deep cuts on the head of an inmate at the orphanage. Consequently, the former Ghana Forward lodged a complaint at the East Legon Police Station and later Central Police Station, who are investigating the matter for medical forms. Well, you have to read the story to understand why anybody would think of a thing like that. But the headline already qualified land guards. I guess some litigation is going on there. Appear ban in Latvia for match fixing. That's Ghanaian defender Ofusua Pia. He's been handed a 1-year worldwide ban and fined in the European country of Latvia's top league for match fixing. And I won't apologize for who I am. Absolutely, Marcus Rashford. And the guys are coming out stronger now. And we certainly stand with him. Ronaldo is mad. Mourinho abnormal. Okay, what is this one about? Grab the paper and read. All right, that's it for the Daily Guide newspaper.
Well, if Ronaldo were to be mad, that would be some method to the madness, right? Looking at what he's achieved. But the story will give you better, will be further and better particulars about it. I'll wrap with the BNFT. It says, Bui Power's water level falls critically low. 2021 power supply hinges more on thermal plants. Then there's IES demands proper coordination to guarantee fuel supply. There's also delays in fertilizer payments threaten PFJ's sustainability. It's all about planting for food and jobs, sustainability. Debts linger for 2 years. So it dovetails into what you've been talking about, Mama V. And I guess there are certain things that are also factoring into the problems we're seeing. Local textile makers want 2-year extension on zero VAT rate. But the story, which is what I'm going to highlight on page 2, rising food prices, hike in transport fares push June inflation up to 7.8%. And by December 2021, a 3-year that's this one. The recent rise in food prices and hike in transport fares have pushed inflation up in June, thereby ending the disinflation process since March and putting a squeeze on the Ghanaian consumer's wallet. Data released by the Ghana Statistical Service have shown that the Consumer Price Index, the nation's key inflation measure, inched up to 7.8% year-on-year in June 2021 from the 7.5% recorded previously in May. And the main driver of the June inflation was the food basket, which saw a 1.9 percentage point increment to record 7.3% in June, indicating that the 6-month continuous decline in food inflation had been reserved. You can check out details within the food basket, items that recorded hikes in price levels and all of that, from fish to seafood to meat, tea, and all of that. Check out details on page 2 of the B&FT. It's a wrap for me.
Okay, well, I think we just have a little time to do my JoyOnline.com. If there's a story that you want to
Oh no, but there are birthdays for us to do. So we'll check out my Joy Online.
It's my best friend's birthday today.
Oh, your bestie's birthday?
Yes, it is.
Oh, so our bestie's birthday today. The bestie I don't know.
Yeah, no, you haven't met her yet.
Is it a, oh,
but
it's a she.
I introduced you to her husband because it was her husband's birthday this week.
Oh, okay. Yes, right. I think that was it Monday or Tuesday? One of those, right?
One of those, yeah. Okay. All right, so let's get the business first, the work, which is myjoyonline.com, and then we'll come to the birthdays.
All right, so you can't just say anything because you're an MP. Bagbin Fumes, as Kennedy Japong is referred to, Privileges Committee.
How many times would this one
be? That's exactly what I was about to get to.
The first in the 8 parliaments, at least.
And he himself wouldn't be the first to have made some reckless comments. Minority questions, is it 68 million CD expenditure on past questions for 2020 and 2021 WASI candidates. Then there's Education Ministry terminates contract for supply of mathematical instruments. Check out details. Don't allow criminals
Ben, I bought one of those government branded mathematical sets.
Tell me about it.
Are they supposed to be sold on the open market? I'll take a picture and show you Monday. Or maybe tomorrow.
I didn't buy one, so...
You go ahead with it.
There's don't allow criminals to smuggle subsidized fertilizer to neighboring countries. Akufo-Addo, His Excellency, saying that Speaker of Parliament refers Kennedy Japong to Privileges Committee over threats against journalists. There's also the Media Foundation appalled at Kennedy Japong's call for Love FM reporter Erastus Asare Donko to be attacked. On the Ijira killing probe, my son was not part of the protest. Mother of 16-year-old amputee says 2 final stories. It will be fatal to gamble with Ejapon's threat against Erastus. GJA, Printpag and others say so. And Ijira youth may have reacted same, even if municipal police commander had been proactive with their concerns. That's according to the Ijira Nifahine. There are more stories on myjoyonline.com. But let's check out some of those birthday messages now.
Yeah, it's Caroline's birthday today. Caroline Komi Ashiade. She's everything that I am not, really, and a whole lot more. She's the best side of me, and I want to wish her a happy, happy, happy birthday.
Aww.
She's crazy, she's fun, she's loving, she gives her all. You need a best friend like Caroline. Yeah. You need a Caroline in your corner. So happy birthday to your girlfriend. Enjoy your day. Oh, I hear my director is crashing her hair. Keep crashing. Just remember not to fall.
Okay.
But I also have a special friend who's celebrating her birthday today. Susan Mamie Kia to 4 of Smarts Nails. It's your birthday today, girl. Enjoy.
Charlie, today, the photos you're splashing on the screen. Hey, Charlie, they give me pressure.
Mamie Kia, enjoy your birthday today.
Ayo, let's also do this one. Happy birthday to Dr. Lawyer Samuel Opoku Ejakwa from Kakra, Opoku Ejakwa, and family. Happy birthday to you, lawyer. Do enjoy. Have the best of the day. And that's how we wrap it up.
Before we wrap it up, I have somebody who also watches my back. Remember when we were struggling with whether Omahini Pozo... Okay, a very good friend of mine, Angela Corte, had fished out the information, in fact, the news about his death, and she shared with me. So, Angela, thanks a lot. I hope
she's rivaling Google.
Well, on Sunday, glorious. Oh my God, you want to continue? Do you want to continue?
All you hear is Welcome back on the AM show. It's exciting as we dig into more very pertinent matters. Now, Primetime Limited, producers of the National Science and Math Quiz, is today launching its STEM Festival at the Nat Hall in Accra. We'll be telling you a bit about that, but the STEM Festival is a celebration of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics aimed at promoting the study of STEM in our schools, educating Ghanaians on the various careers in STEM, as well as giving the Ghanaian youth the opportunity to explore and showcase their innovative ideas. The STEM Festival constitutes the mentorship sessions and the SciTech Fair, which were previously satellite events on the NSMQ. Now, joining us for a conversation from Primetime, Samuel Adjo, Associate Client Service Director with Primetime. Mr. Adjo, a very good morning to you.
Good morning to you too.
And of course, because we connect on this, how we could do all.
Yeah, you too.
It's another beautiful initiative that you've come through with,
Certainly.
Primetime, National Science and Math Quiz. Yeah. And now we know every country develops on the back of STEM.
Science, yes, STEM.
And so you're veering into that as well.
Sure.
Tell us a bit about the STEM Festival. Why the STEM Festival? Why now?
Okay, so thank you once again for having me. The STEM Festival, it's here with us now because previously we had 2 satellite events, which was part of the National Science and Math Quiz anytime we're organizing it, which is the mentorship session and then the SciTech Fair.
Right.
But then realized that, over the years, the quiz, as huge as it is, kind of overshadows those satellite events, which are equally important to the students. Because for those who cannot be on stage to answer questions, they also can use their brains to develop projects and among other things. So we also felt that, look, it's important for us to give these activities the kind of lifeline that it deserves. And so we detached the activity from the quiz and then put it under one umbrella called the STEM Festival. So the mentorship session and the SciTech Fair comes under an umbrella called the STEM Festival.
Right. And so that is what has led us to this. Now, what are you seeking to achieve with this festival and all of that? Just today, we're reading about one of our senior high schools and the innovations they've come through with and how, they are employing science, to do marvelous things. What are you hoping to achieve with this STEM festival?
Well, it's primarily to promote STEM activities in schools, for instance, because it's quite important that students get to know of what the kind of capabilities that they have. So one of the main ideas is to promote STEM in our schools, also to inspire and engage students in STEM-related activities, and also to open the minds and students to the careers that we have in a STEM festival. So these are some of the ideas that are behind pushing the agenda of the STEM festival.
So is it based on any maybe analysis of the fact that STEM is low in our schools? I know you've targeted 10 schools that will be competing, on the competitive end of this festival. But is it because there's also been identified that maybe STEM is not what it ought to be in our schools?
Yeah, because it's the schools naturally are having some of this activity, but then we think that we can do better as a nation, and then we need to catch them young and start developing them at this level, so that we can achieve the objective that the nation looks at. Just as you mentioned earlier on, I mean, the development of every nation depends on STEM. I mean, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and so it's important for us to also contribute our quota towards unearthing our future scientists for this country.
Right.
That's why we had to come in with the STEM festival.
And it's important. We've had people, work with NASA and the rest of Ghanaian origin. So if we're going to continue that flow, we need to really focus on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And that is what brings me to my next question about mentorship.
Yeah.
Now, you have a mentorship drive as part of all of this. Yeah. What is it? Break it down for us. And what is it going to achieve in the end?
Well, okay, so the mentorship session, it's a career guidance session. Here to students or for that matter, students, yes. For all those who want to veer into science, to study or pursue science in schools, at the end of the day, when you ask them, what do you want to achieve? Or what do you want to do in the future? I want to be a medical doctor. So they tend to forget that, look, science, it's broad, it's wide. There are various fields in science or STEM that you can veer into, so that you don't necessarily zone in only on medical or medicine. So we felt that, look, it's important for us to open the minds and the eyes of the students. And so we brought in people from the STEM field who are experienced, who have achieved to the kind of levels that we believe that we need to share those experiences with the students for them to know that, look, in developing a career in science, you don't only have to look at medicine. There's a wide range of careers that you can veer into. So the session is meant to open the minds and eyes of the students and to kind of inspire them. When those ones that we've held in the past, you realize that when the students hear this, they are quite, it catches their interest so well and so strongly, such that even after the sessions, they try to engage the mentors to know more, because of course.
So you've had these mentors over time?
Over time, because that's what, like I was saying, we previously we're doing it alongside the quiz. Okay. So when we come together to the quiz, we have the period of time where we do the session. And the students, I mean, you realize that as soon as they start speaking, especially when it's outside of medicine, even though medicine, in certain areas, people are not too privy to it. And so when they start, they get interested, so much interested in it. And so at the end of the session, students will naturally go out there. I mean, for those who have difficulty maybe coming up with questions to ask the mentors, they'll kind of engage their mentor to tell them more about them. And it's helped develop a lot of students who are now veering into all areas of science.
Who are some of these mentors? I mean, what are we talking? Engineers? Are we talking scientists? Are we talking?
Yes.
What caliber of people?
Well, engineering. We're talking of those people in actuarial science.
Okay.
Medicine. It's wide. It's wide. It's a wide range
within STEM.
Within STEM, it's a wide range within STEM that comes under science, mathematics, technology, and all that. It's a wide range. So it's a tall list. I mean, if I have to mention. And so we try to catch. We have people, for instance, working in the banking sector. I mean, Absa Bank, it's a headline sponsor of, and we have people there who are working there, but then they did science in schools, and so it tells you that science is broad, science is wide, science is around us, and for which it's important for us to allow or to help our students know that it's not just about medicine, it's about a lot of things that you can do and help contribute your quota.
Now, today is D-Day because you're launching the SciTech Fair and all of these innovations that you're speaking of in terms of, building STEM in Ghana. And between now and August the 5th, there are going to be quite a number of activities. Tell us about some of these activities that we should expect between today, when it's launched at the Nat Hall, and August the 5th.
Right, so as I indicated, we are launching today at the Nat Hall, and then we'll start with the mentorship session. So that's going to start after the launch, and then from today, it's going to start at 5 p.m. each day. Right. It's going to be an hour-long session, and it will be streamed live on our National Science and Math Schools Facebook pages, and then the STEM Festival Facebook pages as well. And of course, I know JoyNews, my Joy Online, also pick it up, and then also
Joy Learning. It's going to be on Joy Learning,
and it's going to be on Joy Learning live. Yeah, going to Joy Learning live for an hour. So that's for the mentorship session, And the SciTech Fair would come off on the 29th of July and then the 30th of July. And that activity, it's in two parts, the SciTech Fair. We have the exhibition part, and then we have the innovation challenge. Yeah. So we've allowed, previously, it was all about exhibition, where students come to exhibit some of the projects that they have been able to develop, as you see on screen. So
sometimes even bordering on robotics and the rest.
Exactly. So we think that, look, it's about time to really challenge our contestants, because they have shown that they have the ability, the capability. So why don't we challenge them and then help them to do better than they've done? So,
and that's why you came up with these 10 schools.
Exactly.
What went into your selection of the schools? Is it because they've been coming and maybe showing some positive signs? How did you target them?
No, so we sent out the information out there. It was open to all schools who were supposed to send in proposals and to talk about whatever project you come to build, because it's on the SciTech Fair is coming under the theme fighting COVID-19 using innovative tech solutions. So you're supposed to build projects that would tailor towards this theme. And so they sent in their proposals, and we have a team of consultants who analyzed those proposals, and then out of those 10 schools were selected to engage or be part of that competition. So SciTech Fair, which is coming up on the 29th and 30th, it's in two parts, exhibition and then the innovation challenge. And they're going to build projects right from the scratch to the end.
Which is pretty interesting. I mean, looking at the images we were just looking at, from a hydroelectric plant to, the construction of I don't know how many tier roads and all of that. Pretty futuristic in there. And if all of these ideas are coming forth, then I believe we have hope for the future.
Exactly.
People are thinking along these lines at this stage. They would be the same people ending up in engineering and other fields, changing the face of our country. And I believe that's your ultimate goal, isn't it?
Perfectly. That's our goal. I mean, for us, we always want to give the students a platform to be able to rise up to the highest level that they can. I mean, we've done so with a quiz where we have a lot of people out there, I mean, coming from the National Science Summer Schools who are established scientists in this country. And so we also believe that for those who cannot go on stage to be able to talk or answer questions, more or less, and then later apply, we also have to give them the platform where they can use their skills to develop projects that can help solve societal problems.
Now, maybe before we wrap up, like you mentioned, APSA is
is the headline sponsor.
I mean, the Joy Group is also
certainly
here.
We have support from Joy Learning. I mean, who was carrying the sessions, and I think the SciTech live. I mean, so and then we have Academic City College who are hosting the SciTech Fair for the 2 days. And of course, we have another partner, YFM. But we are most grateful to Multimedia for this kind of wonderful collaboration all those years, and we believe that it can only get better.
Right.
And of course, I also want to say shout out to APSA Bank. I mean, for something like this, they help in bringing the Africanity in our contestants and our students.
What did it take for you to get all these big entities on board? I know for my group, I mean, here we always look out for the best and we support what is good.
Yes.
But what did it take for you to get all these big entities on board?
Yeah, so I want to believe that just like you always look out for the best and you want to assist with, so does the other bodies also want to partner or collaborate with the best. And as far as we are concerned, prime time, we try to do what we can do in the best of ways.
Well, we can only wish you the very best as we go through. And we're in this with you.
Yes, certainly.
Joy Learning will be following, and hopefully this will help nurture not just the future generation, but even the current generation of those who will help shape, our country for the better. Any final words in terms of what people should expect between today when the launch is? Is the launch, though, is it going to be purely virtual? Is it going to be a hybrid? What is it like?
No, it's I wouldn't say it's not virtual, but it will be streamed live. Actually,
it will be streamed
live. Yes, but we have people who are coming all over. We have been invited to see what we're trying to put together as our contribution towards helping this country to develop. And so I want to say a big thank you to especially all our sponsors, and also a big thank you to Ghana Education Service, who, I mean, we do some of this with them in terms of using the schools and the students, and then to APSA Bank once again for always for being part of this process and to be as a headline sponsor, and Multimedia, with the Multimedia Group. a big thank you to you guys as well. And for all my team members, for the tireless work, the sleepless nights, I think that at the end of the day, we can look back to her and say that, look, through our efforts, we're able to achieve this for Ghana.
Right. Well, all the best, Samuel Nate Ajo. And I know, I'm very positive, upbeat about this.
Sure.
Good job. Anyway, thank you so much for joining the conversation. And from there, we talk about cleaning Ghana. And maybe even, Mr. Ajo, you might be interested in this one. Do you like kinky?
A lot.
You do?
I do. I ate kinky yesterday.
You ate kinky yesterday? Yes. Where do you get your kinky from?
Well, in my neighborhood, I have a special place that I usually go for my kinky.
Okay. You might want to hear about this. Now, it's all about cleaning Ghana. Have you ever wondered where your kinky comes from? Well, it is emerging that the meal is sometimes prepared under extremely unhygienic conditions. A visit by the Joy Clean Ghana team to popular kinky spots in Choko revealed swarms of flies on uncovered fermented dough and utensils filled with dirty water and overtaken by remnants from previous cooking sessions. My colleague Manuel Granting was with the team, and here's his report. Get ready.
Hey, there's another edition of Clean Ghana camping, the Joy Clean Ghana camping. Well, today the train is docking at Choko in the Ablekuma South sub-metro of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. Well, today we're doing a house-to-house inspection of, sanitary conditions, how indeed people are adhering to the bylaws of the assembly, even within their homes. And you know that there's a plastic waste menace that's been confronting this particular community, which is just about 100 meters away from the Atlantic Ocean. So this is where the focus is going to be. Want to follow me? My name is Mr. Clean Ghana. Let's talk to Madam Florence Kuchi. She's head Public Health Division of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. Madam, grateful. Today, you say we are inspecting homes. Why homes?
Yeah, today we are inspecting homes because the environmental health promotion, we have series of thematic areas that we do. We have the house-to-house inspection, we have the market sanitation, we have the operations, and there are so many. Then today, we want to test the house-to-house inspection and we want to see whether really people are going according to the bylaws of Accra Metropolitan Assembly 2017. Each house needs to register with an accredited waste collection company. We want to see that whether the houses around here, they have registered. If they've not registered, there's the likelihood that waste are being thrown either into the beach or into the drain. And we also check whether they also took opportunity on the Gamma toilet provision to see whether they have toilet facilities in their homes. If they do not have toilet facilities too, this shows that they do it by the beach. Why? We want to unfold this story here today.
And so that's what we're going to unfold in this edition of the Joy Clean Ghana campaign. So you want to go with us as we begin the very exercise that we're here for today.
Maybe Florence also your friend saying Auntie Akpene. Pacho ni edikan. Ya pesa ya hwe wa pomudin krata. Wo na hwan eduane ye hwan dia?
Oko asore.
Nimpa no kwa asore e na wo na wo hwe eduane no. Hefa na omu ye eduane no. Na he pacho oba sore ya pesa ye hwe ade wa hakakra.
So she's been ordered to just move to allow the officers access into this particular chamber, which what they use it for.
Madam, what who baby aha ena mode niama mode ton ko no nyina esi che aha nyina emore niama. Just look at baby aha say then na waha just jina ha na hwe hwe wan kasa bra na be hwe ha emori en si ho no usi mori ni ho hwe baby a no just hwe baby a emori na nkasa ekata so na hwe se ne once na hwe fi o hwe efi a ewo ha wo de emori a mo de yadok no wan kasa fansa ka ha na hwe ade just fansa ka ha hwe ade edi na wa ha eye den Ena mu ye aduane eton ema amanfo ema omudi hwe nsuo no kra mudi ye aduane hwe nsuo na
ndi yo ene we na ndi ye hwe difference hwe we na hwe we
yi ma munyi sanyema
we na mudi ye aduane no
I see difference. She's saying look at the difference.
We from nsuo we enye nsuo pa we ya di twitini amanimu we na ye nsuo pa we nya nsuo pa we from nsuo we pipe
ena wutong aduane nti efi we nyina egu ha umpese obi di ne nsa beka na wuti efi no ho etong aduane
da bi o se mi fa mi pe we abusiasem enye ye dia
ugu ha oniama so na hye ha ena wumpese
ene meji wo no hye ni bi ene mi kwanye fa ene je wo no
sani ha tie a wo ye aduane wo sese no
ne ba na je o fa nyele nchenye aje no ele
nti aduane no kra no mame
ko chombi no asham
tie ne awo ho se sani ha sitie ana ha na wo ye aduane nti sa aduane kra nya ade aye ba ba
ma na ye nua wa ha
mame more he fa ne fa more e more he ne fa no enye efinu mu se efinu mu ne fa e more no nti sa wo fa more wo de more esi finu mu na wo yifi e de besi ha no what's the difference inti dokro no kra nya da ebe ma okwan a wo beton wo ti ase inti ye be sesa nyama no inti wo sesa
nipa ni ho moni no
odisan your friend is saying esi den
ebeje no mi panye fai ebeje
So madam, what are we going to do now?
What we are doing is, you can just look at where she is cooking, where she even put the fermented dough. The whole place is very dirty, very nasty. She just goes there, prepares this and come and package it neatly and put it here. You come, you think it's as neat as the surrounding is, but it is not. We all saw what was happening inside there. So we are not going to allow her to sell this food. We want to do this so that people who are selling food to the public will ensure that the food that they sell for the public is made from a very neat and hygienic environment. The food that hasn't got any, what will I say, contaminated substances in them. That is why we want to take this food away. We wouldn't allow her to sell the food. When we take it tomorrow, she will make sure that she will clean this place before she sells the food. We are not just taking only the food. We are also giving her a notice, ensuring that she should clean this place. Then we will come back in 2 days' time to come and see to it that she has done the work before she can continue to pay the food. And when she is coming, she should also come and show us her medical certificate that we've given to her before she is preparing the food and selling it to the public.
This is the debris. Madam, what's this? What are we saying now?
This is from her. This is the remnants of the fish she fried. From here, it is going straight into the drain. You can just imagine. See, just look at. You see,
the drain is really choked.
The drain is really choked. Look at onions. These are even what will I say? The remnant of the food debris that she prepared the kenke from. You see. So that is the issue.
So the people are agreeing in unison with the activities that are happening. They are only begging that the food is not carried out. But are you going to oblige them? Are you going to listen to them and not carry the food away?
Now that they are saying the owner is not there, we will give her a notice, but we are going to instruct her to remove the food from the table. She is not going to sell the food. The food should be placed at the back. Then when the owner comes, we will see what to do. And before we leave here, the owner might have been back by then. But we've given her a notice.
Now we're closing her down?
Yes, please. We are closing her down.
So we're going to now move from here to the next spot. And that's indeed what's happening. Well, now she's been ordered, and you can see them carrying the sieve, which contains the meat and the fishes that she sells, being moved away from the spot where she sells them. Now we're moving into the area proper. This drain is supposed to be a canal that, as it were, drains water from this part of the area down there to the bigger lagoon. But now, as you're seeing, it's choked with plastic debris. I see animal carcass in there. I see also peels from vegetables and so on and so forth.
I think in Pacho, Hefana Mugu Mubola, Mobra. Mobola, mude mobola guhe. I have fana o digu ansa na o di alcohol. No, this year I mean okay.
So she's taking us to where exactly? Yeah. Where she put her?
Yeah, where she put her refuse. But nature say, you say who kita we, and you now so adi say see akoshu egu boy.
No me ya me di sense o.
Insuo be na esa.
Insuo me di huru we.
Wo de huru den.
To mon fo ni ahi. Yeah, ni toilet, you call public.
Mo call public toilet. You talk about we nyina mu ni toilet. Mo call public toilet.
But ebi wa ha, ebi we wo ye fian so but ye call.
Mo toilet no way.
Ewa.
Pa church mo toilet.
So after inspecting her refuse collection point, now we're going to check the toilet, and that's where she's leading us to. Well, another thing is catching our attention right here in the house.
Because they don't have a toilet facility, so you can see this H. Excreta inside a black.
It's a container, right?
No, it's a black chimper pot. We call it chimper pot. Human excreta. Look, even with maggot, it has been there for a long time. They've not poured it away. You see that there's maggot in the H. So I don't know, Madam Bra. Madam. Me pacho, so wa ho hwe ade awade mu aye.
Dabi.
Ona kono ni yo mi. Ko kata so den na wo ho. Den na wo ho. Ma me bra, wo na ofie dan we mu kam. Bra. Madam, yes, this all say nimpa no your friend is saying. Ajia den. Madam nimu. So wan to bo ase, ankyere ye mu a, ye be sama mu a mu wo fie ha nyina, unim ni enti. Say yare ba mu a mu wo fie ha nyina mo be yare oti ase enti yampene ana hwe Jesus na esi ho no na mo ti fie saa mo asore anapa mo apra na toilet any junso nyina esi ho na mo kwase mo ma ya information na efie afo nyina ye kiro samankrata.
And so the woman is proving a bit stubborn. She will not cooperate with the team as it is here. You're seeing the people a bit agitated. So the landlady is now, as it were, pushing for the lady to release the information. She says that she knows the owner, if you like, the occupant of this particular room. She mentions that this house belongs to her Grammy, and now she is the caretaker of the house. Most of the tenants here, she explains, do not sweep, and she has to sweep herself, and they pack the refuse, some on others. And now AMA officials are looking to serve notices to all the tenants in this house. Arrest, madam. Are we going to arrest anybody from here?
What we have seen is, if we make the arrest, we are going to cause chaos. We have served a notice already, and we are going to follow with the notice. We've seen that there's no toilet facility in the house. It's because there's no toilet facility. That is why they do that. So we have served our notice to all the occupants, including the landlord or the landlady. When the summons comes, then we will know when who will go to court. What we want is the nuisance to be abated. They have taken it, wherever they've taken it to, it is their own issue. But the health of the public is also at risk. You understand?
There's not going to be any arrest. But the tenants have been served notice.
Inti mame, adia ya odi akata aduane so na ye. Inti 190 now the idea I fi e the akata aduane so. O see a fraud Doris. Ma o see a fraud saying. Until I tell you. She aduane a wo ye baby a wo te in one snap one she baby I tell who she ade a wo the akata aduane so inti ye. But o wa pom ni krata wen.
Doctor
Inya agabonwe jemolena.
Wa pom ni krata wen.
Doni I call money no. License no alone. The license no na jo nya la. And the picture is there. Ninya picture petemi no.
Media no. Unni bi.
Ichembe wale wonde
nti wo kra wo yare e na wo ye aduane wonni ma de kra eye o apa wo di krata wo nti ante sa aduane we ye ma wo nton ye be peje aduane de akọ krata wo bi people take this food away. We won't allow her to sell the food. Take this thing away. Take it out. Yeah, but I want to see at
Sarah Mini. Sarah Clotte. Who on here?
Ima mine be wale wo mi fio ni ke.
Mini fiore.
BP.
Ni hende tane ho ni ona.
O mbranya fane.
Mako, Mama, would be your grand, or the baby, I go when you know the bed check at the aton docuno. When you know the day at the aton docuno, should be a good. This is the pepper for the kinky and the salt. Look at pepper, and now the bed would be a kinky, meboa. Nanny a good one. What the bell wire then? Eddie, I then. Shito, meboa. What the back and yet okuna mudi bedi. She baby egu. So as at now we've consecrated this kenke because where she is preparing the kenke is very bad. She herself she is sick and she doesn't even know the kind of sickness that she is suffering from.
This is for yesterday. Look at this. As at this time, this thing, nyanya ho ni. She jechele, esa nene machine. Dabi, kwa gbena, that the sender no look about whole come here. Oh no she.
Omo ye ko je no ni woka. Nye den che ni te kolebu e wo fi.
Kemi ni fi obo.
Okay, ni ne ntwe.
Ka ho ni ebe abuo net koni itwe kwa kaya ni emi abuo max keni bi obuwe ko oyo beglo
le yan ko bi apo mi fe ni ndie ma se le ne le hin ko po ni
Madam Epacho
let me give it.
He's 7.
Okay, so he's serving the notice now. So what does the notice say? Gordon, what does the notice say?
Yeah, the notice is saying that she's preparing food for public consumption without the valid medical health certificate. Yeah, she needs to be satisfied that, look, she's free from communicable diseases such as typhoid, hepatitis, and then tuberculosis. Yeah, so without the health card, it means that she's not, it means that she cannot sell food for public consumption.
Is it what? No, I do.
Sorry.
Ghana.
Look, if your outlet is here, you don't expect AMA to come and clean the drain for you. It's your duty to clean the drain in front of you. That is where your outlet falls. If the drain is choked, are you expecting AMA to come and distill the drain for you?
Moni, should I come again?
Please come.
We've been doing it by ourselves. And then some of the leaders in this very area said, they've called the AMA people, please listen to me very well. And they said every month we need to contribute. We did it once and then they came for it. Since then, they've not come again. So when we watch and the thing is full, and we are not the only people using the gutter. I cannot be doing it with my brother alone here every month. Mommy.
Night, when you are in the community. You need to unite.
And that is what they say.
Immediately, you see, immediately
the money, and still the work is not
going
on.
Which people do you give your monies to?
Oh, well,
we don't know whom. No, I don't want to see.
One evidence I can give.
Which of the AMAs takes
That is why I said when I call the leaders, they will just bring the AMA people out, and then you will know them.
The drain is a public good. It's not an individual good. So all of you need to come together and take care of the drain.
We've been doing it with assembly, and sometimes we normally do it, and even to ask for tools to use it, they would never give us. We do go to this church, 70 apostles. I think it's SOS also. Normally we do take some of the tools from them. After that, then we give it to them. And this thing, we've been doing it all the time. I think there's the time that I'm not even having time. And moreover, I'm not staying here. For me, I'm at Kaswa. That's where I live. But that's my dad. I need to be here some of days to watch him. Please. So we've been doing it. And in fact, I can't be doing it alone.
So, madam, what have you been doing today?
So today we did house-to-house inspection, and then some food vendors inspection, those who prepare food and sell within the various houses that we visited today. So that is what we've done today.
Okay, so what's been the impact of this exercise?
In fact, today there has been an impact because we all heard one woman, and this Sheila, saying what we are doing is very good. It has a very positive impact on her and the entire community of Choco. Yeah, so houses that has no toilet facility, we have identified some houses without toilet, and we've issued notice to them. We are going to make a follow-up and ensure that those houses provide toilet facilities in the homes that they are living.
What does this say? What we found today, what does it say about the collaboration between, if you like, Public Health Division and then the Building Inspectorate Division of the EMM? Because most of the buildings we've seen are not really well planned. They are crammed together and so on and so forth. What does it tell us?
Yeah, you see, this area, these are an indigenous area, and most of the indigenous areas, mostly, let me say, the fisher folks. That is when you go to all along the coast from Volta to Western, the indigenous communities. That is how they are. Yeah, it is an indigenous community. Mostly, they are not. The layout plan is not always good. But talking of collaboration, the collaboration is there when it comes to AMA. Most of the department, we mostly collaborate and go out to do inspection of such natures. Yeah.
Okay. So what we're seeing now, from what we've observed today, what is a call to the public, people who are watching and listening right now? What should they be taking note of when they're buying food, for instance?
So what we are informing all the general public is when they are buying food, they should always be cautious of where they buy food. They shouldn't look at the package of the food in front of where the food is sold. At the back of their mind, they should be thinking of where the food is prepared before it is brought. We also we are also informing the public it is your duty to check out from the person you are buying the food from to see whether the person is medically screened. You may not know, the person may be a carrier of a communicable disease that when you buy the food, you are likely to get it. So it is the duty of any person who is buying food outside to inquire from the person you are buying the food from whether the person is medically screened. That is one of the things. And then we are indulged that the public, everyone should help. Sanitation is a public good. It is not an individual good. Sanitation is a national security issue. So we should all come together and ensure that we attain good sanitation and help to make Ghana a clean country.
Well, that's Madam Florence Kuchi. She's head of Public Health Division of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, leading today's exercise of the Joy Clean Ghana campaign. Well, behind me, you're seeing this kiosk, or if you like, shop. It's a kinky vending shop owned by one Auntie Sheila. She's also been giving an abatement notice. She used to report at the Ablekuma South sub-metro of the AMA for further actions. Generally, putting the question to you that where do you get your favorite kinky? Well, is it from somewhere like this or where? That's left for you to decide as you go about your normal activities. From here at Choco in the Ablekuma South sub-metro of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, my name is Manuel Kranti. You can call me Mr. Clean Ghana, reporting for JoyNews.
And that is my colleague Manuel Karanting. So the question again, where do you get your kenke again? You might want to reconsider. But the right things ought to be done, Florence Kuchi. It's a national security issue, she says. But from there, talking about our food, Heifer International Ghana presents a breakfast meeting and launch of the Youth Smallholder Farmers in Agritech Africa reports. The theme is the future of Africa's agriculture, the role of the youth and Agritech in Ghana. And it's slated for today, Thursday, the 15th of July at 7:30 a.m. at the Alisa Hotel in Accra. I'll tell you what. This event will bring together some of the best minds in agri innovation, smallholder farmers and policymakers to find solutions to the challenges facing the youth in agriculture. Live on the JoyNews channel and all social media platforms. All COVID-19 protocols will be observed. And that is coming your way next after this break. But right now, let's cross over for that Heifer International Ghana presentation, that breakfast meeting and launch of the Youth Smallholder Farmers in Agritech Africa report.
Of youth and technology in Ghana. Now, this is so critical, and we woke up this morning to news on the front page of the Daily Graphic, which had the following headline. It says, Agric Ministry alert, prolonged drought worrying, low food production in 4 regions. And it makes for some very interesting reading, the statistics that the Agric Ministry has put forward to alert farmers about what is to come. It shows that out of the total maize farmland of 246,000 plus hectares, 79,000 hectares could not be cultivated. Why? Because of prolonged drought. But I found the reason for the drought also pretty interesting. The Agric Ministry explains, according to Graphic, that the main rainy season, which is normally from March to July every year, has moved to August. And they say that in turn has shifted the minor season further backwards. And this has led to some prolonged period of drought, which is very interesting. And in this conversation, we'll talk, I'm pretty sure, about climate change. But with this problem comes talk about possible solutions. And I'm thinking irrigation is definitely a perfect way to deal with this problem, which some say is definitely a technological factor. And so we are here today, thanks to Heifer International, to consider, for example, in the midst of the alert that the Agric Ministry has just put out, which is on the front page, what technological innovations can we consider, for example, in fixing a problem such as this? It is this reason has, of course, inspired the study that Heifer has done, and particularly assessment of the role of the youth and technology in Ghana, and we want to get them involved in the solutions as well. And so a perfect occasion to consider our options, and I'm delighted that you are joining us this morning to do just that at a time of great need for such interventions. And so welcome all of you. We are live this morning on the JoyNews channel on Multi TV. We are also live on Facebook, again streaming live via JoyNews. We are live on YouTube, so simply go onto the YouTube link of JoyNews and you can watch this live. Remember to engage with us. Our hashtag this morning is hashtag Youth in Agritech. And keep your questions coming. Apart from our physical audience here in the auditorium, we have many of you also joining us via Zoom and other networks, and we'll put them up on a screen shortly, who are joining us wherever they are in the world via the links that we have shared. We look forward to a lot, including the presentation of the study and the findings, which I'm pretty sure will fascinate you. Before we go further, though, I want to introduce all of you for a proper welcome to the Heifer Africa Senior Vice President for Africa, Adeswa Ifedi. Ladies and gentlemen, she sent in her welcome address via video. And Adeswa is in Nigeria and will join us pretty shortly. In the time of COVID, obviously, with travel restrictions, etc., we've relied so heavily on technology. But technology, as we know, sometimes can prove a bit challenging. We'll get Adeswa to join us with her welcome address very shortly, representing Heifer International, which, of course, has put in a lot to bring this study to us. We have a lot of dignitaries also joining us today who have managed to help us make this occasion work, and we are grateful to have with us many of the directors from the Agric Ministry joining us. We have representatives also from groups from across the field when it comes to this particular sector that I want to acknowledge as well. Their input and support to make this work. We have reps from academia who are joining us today from the University of Ghana. We also have reps from the Ministry for Trade and Industry joining us today, Stella Kosia Ansam, who is representing the Deputy Minister. We also have, obviously, Ministry for Food and Agriculture joining us today. We have Mr. Richard Chumesi Ankra, who I've met recently in WA on a similar mission with the GIZ. We are grateful that you could join us, sir. Also joining us from the ministry is Paul Siama. Also from the Trade and Industry Ministry is Anthony Nyame Befi. We also have from the Ministry of Agriculture Dr. Patrick Abeka, who's Darlington Owusu. We are grateful that you could join us also, both of you. And we have many of the farmers themselves also joining us. International partners, we have Denida, Linda Akofui Abafoli. Thank you very much for gracing this occasion. We have the Share Network Ghana, and remember that they are the actual practitioners on the field every day, helping us make sure that we put food on our table. And so we're grateful, Edie Zakaria, also who have made it possible for this to happen. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to invite Richard Chumesi Ankra, who is the Director, Policy Planning and Monitoring, and also Evaluation Directorate of the Ministry for Food and Agriculture, to give us some brief opening remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Richard Chumesi Ankra, Director, Policy Planning and Monitoring of the Evaluation Directorate of the Agric Ministry. Thank you, sir.
Good morning. Mr. Moderator, thank you for the opportunity. I'm standing in on behalf of the Honorable Deputy Minister for Food and Agriculture to make these brief remarks. He sends his apologies for not being able to be at this meeting. He's currently attending to some other equally important assignments, so I stand in for him. to read this brief keynote. I think the theme for this meeting is how we are going to engage the youth in agriculture, and the Ministry of Food and Agriculture for time immemorial have become aware of the youth having kind of this interest in agriculture and trying to put up policies and strategies to engage them, to attract them into the agriculture sector. For time immemorial, I think in the country, people have negative perceptions about agriculture, and they think that is for those who are not educated, unskilled physical laborers are required, low returns, economic returns, and now the major term is agriculture is very risky. So the ministry for a long time have initiated the Youth in Agriculture program, which has had different forms, because as we get along, we try to modify the strategy to make sure that we still get the interest of the youth. Under the Youth in Agriculture program, it provides productive alternatives for the engagement of the youth in agriculture, and then we diversify various commodities to just also get them to get interest in them. We try to have new varieties, which are short duration and have other attractive interventions, and the animal breeds that are also very productive to make sure that within a very short time, the youth will have interest in them. The main objective of the program was to making the youth accept farming as a commercial business venture and appreciably increasing farm incomes. That's the reason why we are coming up with these new varieties, to ensure that the productivity of the various commodities are increased. And then also to motivate them to stay in the rural areas by ensuring inputs reach the farming communities. All these are evolving mechanisms that we have put in place to attract the youth. Because if you find it difficult to get the inputs that will enable you to produce, the tendency is that you try to move to the cities where you think that things are quite easy. The Youth in Agriculture program initially was in the form of a block farming, where large area is prepared, plowed, and then shared it among the youth, and they are given the necessary input to crop. And when they harvest, they pay back what has been given to them. That was not too attractive to them to start with, so that didn't work that much. Then we also provide livestock and improved breeds, which some of them also could not accept. And then we try to find other models of agribusinesses to incubate them, and that's what has been the trend. Then when this current government came, we tried to modify it a little bit and formulated the program currently called Planting for Food and Jobs. This program has 5 modules, and they have different dimensions of incentives to make sure that if the youth will take interest. So the first module, the food cost module, the incentive there is subsidies for fertilizers and seeds. To start with, there were subsidies of about 50% of the cost. And then the seed too, there was 50% cost borne by the government to enable the youth cultivate the various commodities, which were basically the cereals, maize, rice, sorghum, soybean, and others. We have also added the vegetables as part of the selected commodities. So that one is working a little bit. We're getting a little bit of them coming up to take up agriculture as a venture, as a business. Then we have the PED, which also tries to diversify our primary income from the tree crops, which has always been the cocoa. But under this program, government is looking at other commodities, which is trying to bring it up to the level of cocoa. We have coffee, rubber, coconut, mango, shea, and cashew. And over here, the incentive here is that The district assemblies are remunerated, are resourced to raise seedlings of these commodities depending on the agroecological zones that they find themselves. And the seedlings are given free of charge to those that are interested to plant them on their fields. And those 21, they are matured to be exported to generate foreign exchange for the country. Then we also have the rearing for food and jobs, which is the livestock component of the planting for food and jobs, where we improve, we supply new breeds and subsidize them. We give you cockerels to add to the local ones that you have. And then when they meet, then you have the offspring which are very much improved, and you can put it on the market for increased income. Under the cockerel program, the poultry program, the vaccines for treatment of diseases and the feed are also subsidized. Even the day-old chicks are also subsidized by government. So that these are all to reduce the cost of production, then to make sure that you are able to make, the youth are able to make profit and to stay in and see it as business. Apart from the poultry part, we also have the ruminants, such as sheep and goats, which are also given to the individual farmers to prop up their own stocks. And then there's also a program under piggery. In all cases, the treatment of any diseases that break up is also going to be free. Then the next model that attracts the youth more is the greenhouse vegetable production. We know previously we used to have bans on vegetables and fruits that have to export to European market because of residues of chemicals and things like that. So here, to attract the youth, the government has turned to greenhouse production of vegetables. And to forward that up, 3 training schools have been set up in the country, one in Dawenya, one in Akumadan, and the other one in Bojasi. These have been set up at the places where there are water from irrigation facilities, and the training is residential. If you're interested, you have been advertising in the papers. If you're interested, you apply and you go for about 6 months training. And over there, we have commercial area of land, which is also accessible to those who have been trained to also produce vegetables and export and sell some on the local market. Under this program, about 186 graduates have been trained. In fact, some of them go to Israel for another 11 months of ground training. But for COVID, which broke up in 2020, we have not been able to continue, but at least about 110 of them have been to Israel and back. The equipments are also there, and government is subsidizing them. You buy it at a reduced cost to be able to set up, except that you have to set up a place where there's water to enable you to produce. And then the next module is mechanization. Because everybody thinks agriculture is fiscal, you have to spend a lot of energy to be able to listen, but you have to operationalize, you have to make that the operations on the farms are more efficient. So government has, since 2017, attracted a number of loan facilities to supply mechanization equipment, such as tractor, harvesters, seeders, planters, boom sprayers, threshers, and things like that. And recently, even small handheld harvesters for rice, just to make the work on the farm a little bit relaxed. Previously, we were talking about the hoes and the cutlasses, so we're moving from there. So I think you're also looking at technology, Agritech in improving, attracting the youth. I think that's one of the areas the government has looked at. Then marketing also becomes a problem. people that we have produced, you are not getting market. And there are some institutions that have been put in place to also assist in the marketing of surpluses of commodities that are produced in the country. We have the NAFCO, who buys surpluses, and then the Ghana Commodity Exchange, which also have the surpluses. And then before 2017, there were about 34,000 metric tons of storage capacity for grains in country, grains and legumes in country. And the government to date has been able to build 18 new warehouses, each 1,000 metric ton capacity, to enable us to store grains as one of the mechanisms for regulating prices of these commodities. The next thing that comes up is rice storage, which must be stored in a more regulated environment, silos, and then this one, we are yet to have a pilot with a PPP arrangement, public-private partnership arrangement, to see how that one all works. So these are all areas that the youth are being, your attentions are being drawn to look at to. And then when I read the summary of your report, there was also issues about financial support. I also want to indicate that we have the OVCF, Agricultural Value Chain Fund within the ministry. It's a German government support, where you give loans to those who want to go into agriculture. And then for 2019-2020, government also put in place a stimulus package for rice millers, because rice producers were saying that they were unable to get market for their paddy. So this stimulus enabled about 15 large-scale commercial millers to buy rice off the hand of the farmers. And that was another incentive which the youth can also look at. There's also a GASL, it's another financing model that's trying to mitigate risk in receiving funds, credit for agricultural purposes. And then the one that has emerged immediately recently is the CARES, COVID-19 Alleviation and Revitalization of Enterprises Support Program. Over there, the subsidy is on the capital. So we have what we call the interest subsidy, where you do your proposal, you go to a bank for a loan, and instead of you saying that the cost of capital is high, government is going to take part of the interest that you pay on the capital, the money that you take as a loan. And I think there's also an issue that was related to land. That's one of the things that's not attracting the youth to the sector. But I want to say that land for agriculture in Ghana is not scarce. For land that's potentially suitable for agriculture, it's only about 40% that's under cultivation now. So for us in the policy sector, I think what we have to look at is how to make sure that the land tenure system and the security of acquiring land is very attractive to the youth. Yeah, so we are happy to be here. We are here, almost some of our directors are here. That we recently went out with the Honorable Minister, and one chief advised that we cannot evaluate ourselves as a ministry. Rather, somebody should evaluate and tell us. So we are happy to be here to listen to the report that you have developed, and we're going to take the recommendations that come out very seriously and consider that in our policy formulation and planning processes. For that, we commend the many CSOs whose interest in the agriculture sector allows them for the advocacy role they play in directing the strategies of the ministry. We are happy to be here, and we want to listen to you and make our necessary input to today's discussions. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A big round of applause for him is Richard Chumesi Ankra, Director Policy Planning, Monitoring, Evaluation Directorate of the Ministry of Agriculture. And as he said there, the ministry is ready to listen to the details of the study done by Heifer International, and they're ready to take on the recommendations as we will hear shortly. Before I even go further, I must acknowledge that as Mr. Chumesi Ankra himself noted, there are so many other partners and international donor community members and other INGOs represented here. I just quickly want to acknowledge the presence of Oxfam International. I want to acknowledge also the presence and solidarity with today's event of AFAD. We also have Action Aid represented. We are grateful for your presence. We have the Hunger Project also represented here today. We have the Embassy of Switzerland represented here, and GIZ, of course, are also represented. We are grateful that you make time to join us here today for this event. Before we get into the details of the research, however, as Chumesi Ankra has indicated, I have someone who can summarize for you and give you a proper path towards the details that we'll hear shortly. She is a Senior Vice President Africa for Heifer Africa, and she is in the person of Adesua Ifedi, who, as I indicated earlier, I sent in her message via video.
Hello, everybody. It's exciting to be able to welcome you to this event where we are launching the report that we just concluded on youth, technology, and agriculture in Africa. Heifer International has worked in Africa for over 45 years. We've been invested in working at the bottom of the pyramid with smallholder farmers. We're passionate about ending hunger and poverty in Africa, and it's that passion that has brought us on this journey to work with youth, technology, and innovation. We believe that the future of Africa's agriculture rests on the shoulders of our young people. We see them as an asset to the continent, not a liability. And we believe that their passion and their zeal to transform and to embrace technology and innovation is key to Africa's liberation, to Africa's food self-sufficiency, and to the transformation of our continent. So we welcome you to this day and this event. We have taken time to find out what are the challenges that youths are facing in Africa. How can they have more access to finance? How do we create an enabling environment for them to thrive and for them to transform Africa's agriculture through technology? And this report is very revealing on what we have found out, and we welcome all of you in the community of agriculture to come on this journey with us. We believe that 2030 will be exciting as long as we invest in our young people, we invest in technology, and we invest in agriculture for Africa. So I welcome you once again to this event, and we look forward to partnering with every one of you as we start this journey. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a brief round of applause for her. That's the Senior Vice President, Africa, Adesua Ifedi, who sent her that was done by Heifer International, and get to appreciate the fascinating findings that they made. Help me please welcome to do that with a round of applause. Presenting this is the Interim Country Director for Heifer International, Madame Irabuna Yanyi Akofo. A big round of applause for her.
Thank you. Good morning to you all once again. Good morning to you all once again, and thank you so much for joining us this morning. I also want to say thank you to all our colleagues, partners who have joined us live on Zoom, and also those watching us live on the social media platforms and JoyNews channel. So this morning, my presentation is going to be about what the youth are saying about the role they can play in transforming agriculture in Africa and Ghana. Sorry. Okay, I want to quickly. All right, okay. Right. I'm going to begin my presentation with a story. I don't know how many of us have had the opportunity to watch this movie, The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. It's a very important and interesting story, a true life story that happened in a remote village called Wimbe in Malawi. This happened in 2001, 2002, thereabout. And this story is about a young 13-year-old boy called William who lived with his parents and siblings in this remote village. They had no electricity, and everybody in the community depended on agriculture for their livelihood. The story is set during a period where the communities were faced with severe famine. So the beginning of the farming season started with heavy rainfall, which affected their ability to sow or to plant. And unfortunately, there was a lot of soil erosion because of the heavy downpour, and as a result, most of the seeds did not stay in the soil. They were eroded away. The heavy downpour was also followed with severe hot and dry season. And so even for the plants that survived the heavy rainfall, could not survive during the dry season. And all the families had very low yield. In fact, no family had more than a month, no family had enough harvest to sustain them for more than a month. So they had to rely on government rationing, and unfortunately, in some cases, families even had to steal from others in order to make their families survive. One of the saddest moments in the story, or when you're watching the movie, is when the senior sister of William left the house or ran away from the house with her boyfriend. And in the letter that she left for her parents, she wrote in, "One less mouth to feed." One less mouth to feed, because the situation was very dire. People were dying because of hunger. During this same time, William also dropped out of school, but William had a self-taught love for science. And that passion led him to uncover how to use energy, how to create the uses of energy and how to develop a windmill. He and his friends came together and they were able to develop a small prototype, which was successful. So he went to his father to say that this has been successful and he would like to do a big one, which can be used to move water from the village well to the farm fields. Of course, his father thought this was impossible because he's never seen it before. And then also, William was able to gather all his, all the tools or the materials he needed to create a big windmill. But the only thing that he needed was a part from his father's bicycle. This bicycle was the only bicycle in the village, in the whole village. And that was the family's only major asset. So his father said, no, it's not possible. But then through his mother, he was able to convince his father, and they were able to come together. The people that were left in the village, the little people that were left, because most people had run away or they had left or had died. So the few people that were left in the village with his family, they came together, and then they built this windmill. And yes, it was able to supply water to their farms. So whilst the rest of Malawi were suffering and struggling with drought, this little boy with his family and his self-taught love for science and passion was able to work with his family to develop or to build a windmill that was able to supply water to their farmlands from their village well. And because of that, they were able to harvest, they were able to grow, and they were able to feed themselves. The story was a national sensation, and it also attracted international attention. And the good news about it is that William had the opportunity. This is William. He got scholarship, and he was able to continue his education, and he's been able to build more windmills in his community, and as a result, they have access to electricity now, and this community is able to farm all year round. This is what we are talking about. This is exactly the same thing that we are talking about and the reason why we are gathered here today. Many of us here have had similar experiences, have listened to the story of farmers. We have worked side by side with farmers for decades, and the issue of the rains didn't come early. The rains were not enough, or they came late and they were heavy. And so we lost everything. Our yields were poor. The effect of it, of young people moving away from the villages to the cities for greener pastures, and sometimes even outside the country for greener pastures, is real. It is happening. And just like the headline said today in the newspaper, there are challenges. And it is only through technology that we can transform and unlock the potential of agriculture in the continent and in the country. And it is the reason why we came together It is the reason why we came together to do this research, to figure out and understand what is the youth already doing in Agritech in the country and in Africa as a whole, and what are the challenges they are facing and what we can do to support them to do better. According to the World Bank, by 2030, there'll be 350 million unemployed youth in Africa. Where is the job going to come from? If agriculture is the largest employer in the continent and in Ghana, then there's no elsewhere to look to drive opportunities in the food value chain, to create jobs for the youth, and to make sure we transform agriculture, unlock the potential then, and transform our economies, right? So the report looks at 5 key objectives. The first thing we wanted to do was to understand the challenges that have led to the decreasing farm productivity and dwindling incomes of farmers. Right? Also to look at the challenges of technology adoption by smallholder farmers in Africa. To understand the participation of youth in agriculture, their fears, and the impact of those fears and those challenges on the future of food. Also to look at the technological innovation in agriculture, its adoption rate, the barriers to entry, and the scalability, the challenges that prevent youth from scaling up, and the potential of its impact. And finally, also to add value to the ongoing work. So much work is currently ongoing, and Richard narrated them while he was here, to add value to what is going on, and also to inform our strategy for 2030 as an organization. The report was done in 3 sub-regions in the continent. So we have West Africa, East Africa, and South Africa, Ghana being one of the countries for West Africa. So altogether, we had 11 countries. Nearly 30,000 farmers were surveyed. 30,000 youth were surveyed or spoken to. And we had 299 smallholder farmers who were engaged in focus group discussions across the 11 countries. And 110 Agritech-focused organizations, some of them are sitting here, who were also interviewed for this survey. So I'll go through the general findings first, and then come to the findings that came out from Ghana. So the first thing that we learned is that there's a low agriculture tech adoption across all the countries, with 23% of the youth engaged in agriculture or using any form of agriculture at the moment. Access to land ownership was a major barrier across all the countries that we surveyed for youth. Access and ownership was a huge barrier. Funding, training, and access to agricultural technology are the 3 key things that the youth said that they needed support in order for them to thrive in this sector or to engage in the sector. And then also, the agri-focused organizations that we spoke to, or the agri-tech businesses, youth-led agri-tech businesses that we spoke to, spoke about the need for technological innovation, government support for young farmers, and also inclusion in agri-policy. No one should be left behind, right? And also, we know that we know from the youth that access to finance, access to land, access to training were the huge things. One of the things that I found interesting that was low was access to markets. A lot of time we think that access to markets is a problem, but this is totally different. Where they are talking about the land, training, and finance are the key barriers that need to be looked at. Smallholder farmers also talked about illiteracy, socioeconomic status, and also inadequate extension as the barriers that has prevented them from engaging or adopting technology. We also talked about enlightenment, information, and affordability to encourage them to embrace technology. There have been so many social entrepreneurs in the country that have innovated and done so many interesting work to support Agritech. But a lot of the time, these innovations are attached to projects, and we see that at the end of the project, we don't see these innovations scaling up. Adverse weather conditions, insect pest diseases, technology barriers have all negatively affected farmers' productivity, and they agree to it in the conversations that we had with them. Now, the critical success factors that came out from the survey was that there's the need for us to look at the ease of use of technology, the range of information that technology is offering, and the affordability, right? I have seen a lot of technology that when I look at, I say, oh, this is easy and simple. But a lot of time, what we consider to be easy and simple is not easy and simple to the farmer. And also, we looked at the impact of coronavirus on agri-tech business, youth-led agri-tech business, and realized that 40% of them were affected, and they temporarily had to, 40% of them were affected and they temporarily had to close their businesses. 38% experienced some reduction in the demand for their services or goods. And we also have 36% that said they do not have the financial capital to grow back their businesses. So that is unemployment being worsened, right? So for Ghana, we had a total of 2,678 youth that were interviewed from all across the country, from Greater Accra to the Middle Belt to the Northern region that were interviewed. And 36% of these youth are currently engaged in some form of agriculture. What they consider to be the most important support that is needed to increase youth engagement was funding, training, and mentoring, with 35% agreeing that funding is the main barrier and 31% also saying that training are the main supports that are needed. In their engagement in agriculture, we realized that 42% of those that we surveyed were already doing something in crop farming, 21% in livestock, 5% in agri-processing, and also 38% already engaged or doing something around agricultural technology. Right. The best ways they thought that the youth could be engaged in agriculture, it doesn't have to be farming alone, right? But they thought that they could be engaged in technological innovation, right? Government support for young farmers, and also inclusion and adoption of youth in agricultural policy formation. And we had 39% actually saying that technological innovation is the key thing that is needed, or is the best way for you to be engaged. When we look at unemployment, so looking at all these statistics, and when you look at, when you look at unemployment, overall, the nearly 30,000 people that we surveyed, 66% of them were currently unemployed. And Ghana had 38% of youth currently unemployed among those that we surveyed. I think that it was the third country to have the least unemployed youth among the surveyed participants, with Malawi having 8%. Number of youth with access to land. In fact, among all the countries, Ghana had the majority or most of their youth with poor access to land, with Malawi having the best, which was 11% of their youth said they didn't. 75% is very huge. Our educational system is not making it easy for you to engage in agriculture. Youth in agriculture using any form of technology. It was interesting to note that I think Ghana was the third or second least country with the least people using technology was the least with the least percentage of youth using technology, 12%. Right? It's interesting to know only few of us or only few of the youth are currently using technology in any way in agriculture. So what were some of the recommendations that came from the youth, the agri-tech businesses, the farmers that we spoke to? They spoke about market linkages, right? Providing linkages to local and regional markets for farmers. Also digital literacy, that smallholder farmers will have access to smartphones or internet. Smallholder farmers in rural areas do not have access to smartphones or internet. But however, a basic phone is a good starting point in introducing technology through SMS for the youth. And I know that there are many examples in the country of these type of innovations going on. The need for you to engage in smallholder farming. The truth is that youth are not interested in farming, right? And we know that even their parents themselves are not interested in them being in farming. So there is a huge challenge we face when we talk about the future of food. Since we have an aging farming population and we want the youth to take up that they are the face of farming tomorrow, they are the face of food. So the interest of youth is to see how Agritech can be able to, how we can leverage Agritech to be able to do farming better in a more innovative way, in a more sustainable way, and create affordable solutions for everybody. Also mentoring and training. I know that there are a lot of mentoring and training programs in the country, but that needs to be strengthened and continued. Also partnership with government, looking at how government can support these agri-tech businesses with access to land tax waivers, fiscal policies that deliberately support the youth, and also rewarding innovation, access to opportunities that drive innovation in everything that we do when it comes to agribusiness, and also aligning technology in program design. Because a review of existing programs that were targeted at smallholder farmers and youth must be conducted if the current strategies support the African farmers with the use of technology. So in a nutshell, we know that we cannot transform or change agriculture if we continue to doing things the rudimentary way that we've been doing. There is the need for us to think differently, look at ground-up approaches that are able to solve the challenges that we face. The example of William, we saw how the village came together. William thought of the solution. It was ground-out approach. It was not something that was brought somewhere, but then it took everybody in the community. They thought about what they have, the resources they have, and what they can use those resources that is immediately available to them to create the solutions. Thank you very much.
So that, again, was the interim country director for Heifer International, Irabana Yanyako, for fascinating insights into what they had found in that study. Indeed, we are going to dissect what we've heard. Very interesting findings. I find some of the comparisons with the other African countries interesting, that only 12% of the youth they spoke to say they're using technology in agriculture. When it comes to Ghana, if you compare to Kenya, for example, is as much as 39%. And so we're lagging behind. We're going to be dissecting, hearing from personal experiences now. And I want you all to join in that conversation. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I want to invite my panel members who will join us for a brief discussion. But most importantly, we have a lot of our, representatives from the Agri Ministry who also, help us talk through some of the findings, see how those findings we've heard agree or diverge. Work on the field, so we'll try and see the balance we've heard and what the ministry have done, but most importantly, your own personal experiences. From what you know what the challenges are. And so I want to hear from challenges we know. So I want to hear, why has it been present of us in this panel conversation? I want to invite Adedolapo Alabi, who is an agriculturalist by training, a proud farmer and officer at the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana. A round of applause for her, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm delighted to have a woman joining us for this panel discussions, because they bring a very interesting, refreshing perspective to these conversations. Castro Enchidanso is currently the Chief Executive Officer of Piki Farms, but was previously the Director of Sales and Marketing for Isoko Limited, where he was heavily involved in developing technology for agricultural sector. Castro has a mixed professional experience from agri technology, accounting to business development and law. So he's a man to talk to. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for him. Oh, please feel free anywhere. And also joining us is Anthony Morrison, is a CEO of the Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana. Anthony is a leading African and global agribusiness shaper and a pillar in Ghana and Africa's agribusiness policy development and advocacy. A Ghanaian and African agro entrepreneur and agribusiness policy advocate whose work has attracted recognition from both Ghana and international organizations. Now, this part of the conversation, I want it to be very interactive. And so wherever you are joining us from, and I know there are many of you on Zoom, and I've seen many joining us from across the world, you can join us, and my production team will alert me if you are ready to have a say or contribution. At every table, because we wanted to make this very participatory, you have a microphone in the middle of the table. You have a knob in front of the microphone, just as we do in conferences. You press the microphone, you press the knob, the lights will lit, and then you can talk into it. And so everybody, wherever you are, you must have a microphone in the middle. And that is how I want you to interact. So just press the knob in front of the microphone, the lights lit, and then make your contribution, ask your questions as we proceed. I want to quickly get into my guests, my panelists who are joining us. I want to start to just interrogate a bit more. If you don't mind, as they say, ladies first, I want to start with you, Alabi, if you don't mind. The experiences that we had expressed in the survey, how much of that do you identify with in your line of work? Does it resonate with you at a personal, experiential level?
Absolutely. I think that the survey beautifully captures what the reality on the ground is. In addition to my work with the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana, I am a rice farmer, and I can totally relate with some of the issues. I think that it was very interesting that we added mentorship, business mentorship. We have business mentorship in other fields, but when it comes to agriculture, people just sort of stumble into it. And so for me, that is very interesting. Yes, and for smallholder farmers, technology has always been an issue. People come and say, we developed this technology, but the farmers are not adopting it.
And then farmers are also saying that, we do not have the right technology. So there's a disconnect somewhere, and we need to begin to look at ways in which we can link these two areas together, research on one side and farmers on the other, and bring it together to ensure that agriculture development becomes a reality for Africa.
Castro, is this the same experience for you?
Yes.
Yes, please. It's microphone. Yes, go on.
Yes. I think that, like she said, there's a disconnect. And also for technology, there are a lot of silos. People are building technology, young people are getting development of technology. And because they've seen it work elsewhere, they're also building. But it's just repetitive. And also adoption is also a problem. Literacy, especially in Ghana, if you look at the rate of adoption in Ghana, the number of young people who are using technology in Ghana, 12%, very low. So it's an issue of really the development of these technologies in silos and how you bring that connect to the people who are adopting it. Literacy is a problem with the farmers in terms of adoption. There's a lot of Agritech going on, but it has not impacted the smallholder farmer. So for us, working with farmers also, market linkages is a huge problem, as the recommendation that came from the study. Again, access to land for young people who want to get into agriculture. If you are leasing land down south, the cost of leasing of land down south. If it's in the north, usually sometimes the north they would probably not sell the land to you or give the land out to you at a cost. They might give it to you for free. But then how do you then develop that land? So those are some of the issues that within the smallholder sector.
Let me hear from Anthony. What your own personal experiences have been in this area? Okay, speaking to your, let's see that works.
All right. So,
Right.
Thank you very much, and a very good morning. I think that was a very good survey, but I think I was quick to identify one major missing link. To interest you to know, I also chair the Ghana Agriculture Sector Skills Body, and I identified skills. We've run a number of research across board, and what is actually a major challenge to the industry, especially for the youth in Ghana, is skills. Most of the reason why most of the agribusiness and agri-tech companies do not survive is because they lack the needed skills to either be innovative or to be sustainable or to be able to form a very robust management system with regards to their startups or businesses. So I think that we should look at how skills is very essential in developing some of these things. But in all, I think it's good. There was one other thing I was trying to see. We've done some work with FAO, and we were very emphatic on the fact that research and innovation is critical in the industry. We kind of agree that yes, though access to data, access to internet, and many other things that are very critical for the development of Agritech. And let's be mindful here that Agritech is not in the city. It's in the villages where innovations are needed to solve major challenges of smaller holder farmers, irrigation, and many other things. And yet still, where the technologies are required, there are no data access, there are no internet access, and many other things. And this is where, if you look at how government operates, you would expect that, in Europe, there are a lot of incentives available for youth who have very critical, innovative concepts to solve challenges are supported. For instance, government makes available part of their cyberspace for youth to have access to have research and to be able to be competitive. But in Ghana, either the system doesn't exist at all, and there is always that kind of confusion. You see youth in Accra who says, I'm doing Agritech, but if you look at the data of farmers in Accra, probably is even less than 0.1. And the last data shows that we have about 57% of our rural folks in the rural areas engage actively in agriculture, not to say of the value chain. And I like the fact that they zeroed in on technology, because our last census, I'm happy Mofa is here, our last agriculture census 2018 was very emphatic on the fact that over 70% of our farmers still uses rudimentary technology.
You say that there's 70%?
Yes, still uses rudimentary technology.
As in ancient Stone Age?
So we're talking about
cutlass and
the
hoe.
7, yes, cutlass and hoe. And even the World Bank report 2020 stated that if African farmers can adopt innovative technology, they'll be able to make $1 trillion by 2030.
$1 trillion?
Yes. So that tells you that we cannot underscore the importance of technology. Thank you.
I mean, so this is pretty shocking. But if you put in a context of comparing like to like, so other African countries, right? And the research did that for Ghana, Kenya, in adoption of technology. 12% for Ghana, 39% for Kenya. So that tells a story about, I mean, Kashu, where are we failing? What's the link here? I mean, the other African countries are doing better. At least the survey that we saw from Health International shows that other African countries are doing better in the adoption than we are. We are 12%, others are 39%. There must be something that, and I know you travel across the continent also in your work. So what is the challenge between us and the rest of the continent?
I think that if you look at East Africa, a lot of the East African countries are the ones that are doing quite well in adoption. They began quite earlier than we did in terms of technology adoption. And also the issue of literacy. In East Africa, for instance, apart from Swahili, that is common around, English was quick for them in terms of how they adopted in their educational level. For us also, a lot of the farmers, smallholder farmers you have are illiterate. So the literacy is a challenge. Technology is developed in English, and you want to use technology to provide a service to the farmer. He has to adopt it. Now, if you look at climate change, for instance, and you want to use technology to solve the issue of climate change, and you're sending information to the farmer, if it is not interpreted properly in a local language for the farmer to understand, then adoption becomes a problem. How do you get information in English to say it's 37% humidity, 40% chance of rainfall, or there'll be a certain millimeter of rainfall throughout the week? How do you send that information to the farmer in a local language he can understand? Because that information alone doesn't tell him whether to rain or not. They have their own ways. They look at the wind coming from this side. The sky is blue here. If the sky is blue on the other side of the mountain, then to rain to pass and to rain this way. Okay, but if you have technology, you can use that.
I mean, you say that, and I see giggles in the audience, but it's strange you say that when our common phones now have AccuWeather.
Yes.
You just tell you if I'm in OEB, it tells me OEB weather.
Yes, but you can read that.
And it makes me wonder. So what's?
Yeah, but you can read that.
Okay.
He doesn't have a smartphone to read that. He uses what you call the YAM phone. Now you have that information. How do you transmit that into a language he can understand? Because the problem is, and like we read this morning in the graphic, last year the rains, they came when we began applying fertilizer for crop formation, then the rain stopped. So yield was low for maize. This year the rainfall pattern has changed. So we planted late. So the rainfall pattern has changed. Now so farmers planted in anticipation of the rain, and then the crops failed.
Because we are still relying, 70% are still relying on rain-fed agriculture.
Exactly.
When a constant supply of water to irrigate would have taken you off this, dependence on the heavens.
But what is the cost of irrigation? Okay, I dug a borehole for 11,000 cedis. I'm getting solar panels installed for a 2-horsepower pump for 35,000 cedis. Okay.
Say that again. Solar panels that feed the water supply.
Yes, that will pump the water from the borehole.
Okay. How much is that?
35,000 cedis. Now, how do you, and again, the land tenure system and the land size. Smallholder farmer, on the average, from the ministry, is that when you're going for a subsidy program, the maximum you can take is for 5 acres for a smallholder farmer. If you're doing more than 5 acres, then of course you deal through the district office and get a larger edition of the subsidy for your farm. So averagely, we are saying that you can't do more than 5 acres as a smallholder farmer. If you want to do more, you need dispensation from the ministry. So there are lots of factors that affect how these things work at the local level. And for me, the East African countries are doing better in terms of technology adoption because, M-Pesa and Co. for financial inclusion began well in the East African region before it came here. Momo has
in
been...
fact, mobile money was first in Kenya, done purposely, mainly for the agri
That's what they call M-Pesa in Kenya,
and then
for instance.
It's sort of exploded, become everybody else's
Exactly.
use.
So the farmer is, now if you want to pay, I was happy when I paid for bread, 5 cedis in Tamale. A woman I saw was illiterate, but she took Momo, which is good for me. I mean, mobile phone penetration now is over 130%, which is good. I mean, if we can begin to get farmers on, and we need to use technology to be able to bridge that divide. If you use technology and farmers are transacting, for instance, on Momo, then you can then watch their transactions, look at their financial history, and based on that, you can then do lending. Because then they're transacting on a platform that you can monitor what their transactions are. And through that, you can then do lending to them. These are technologies that some people have developed that we will probably need to scale up. And scaling up of technology is also a problem. It's a major factor. Piloting, R&D is costly when it comes to technology. So young people, small silos, they do a small pilot, they're working with some smallholder farmers, a certain group, and we can't scale that up to other places.
Ade, let me bring you in, because you are young, but you are in the agri field, and you talk about growing rice, correct? I'm curious, all the challenges that we've had didn't stop you from still going in there, right? I mean, we saw the research that there is enthusiasm for young people who want to go into agri. And if you make it sexy for them through technology, they will jump at it. But the challenges are lack of finance, land tenure system, no capacity. What worked for you? What convinced you to do it in spite of the challenges? Because I'm curious to know your own personal story.
Okay. Just before I answer your question,
please.
I'd like to make a comment to the previous question that you asked. Why has technology adoption stalled for us? I think that government commitment is a huge success factor when you're doing these things, because as much as we'd like to say that private sector, people need to develop things for themselves, if there are certain, we don't operate in a vacuum. There is an ecosystem. So if the government does not make certain things available, then you bring the technology, but it's not going to work. Another thing is that a lot of people say that farmers are illiterate and they don't understand. Maybe, but for example, in the East African countries, they were able to break down the information. You said M-Pesa, for example. The name is a local name. Can we then, have researchers embedded in the local settings, understand that farmers look at the direction of the wind and the color of the clouds to tell, and then go back to our books and then see how can we interpret this to fit what the farmer already knows. And then you can start to see change. But if you believe that as a researcher, your way is the best, the way that you present information is very, very key to whether it will be accepted or not. So I would like to say that researchers definitely need to get embedded. Now,
I like your M-Pesa analogy. So M-Pesa is local language. We have mobile money in Ghana. Now we've made it into local language to call it Momo. And I mean, people understand.
Well.
But I get the point.
Yeah.
It was mobile money for a long time before if we accepted the Momo, sort of corruption of it.
Absolutely.
But if you're starting with something else like in a can, maybe
and
localize it for farmers, because we know that maybe would have caught on a bit faster and they can use it. I get your point.
Absolutely. Now, to my personal story in agriculture, let me share how I got into it. I did agriculture for my first degree. I majored in agribusiness, and then I have a master's in agribusiness. But even with this 6 years of education in agriculture, I could not venture into the system because, one, I just didn't know where to start.
Even with your degrees in it?
Yes. I didn't know where to start. I am from Elmina, right? My farm is located in the northeast region of Ghana. How was I going to access land? So when you say mentorship, working with the farmers in my organization, a Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana, having the farmers hold my hand, literally tell me, I sat down to discuss with my president, Mr. Abdurrahman Mohammed, and, he sort of showed me the ropes. Now, another thing with the access to land was, as a young person, imagine me as a young woman going to a community to meet a chief to discuss access to land. Do you know how difficult that will be? So one of the things that peasant farmers did was to acquire a block area of land and say, okay, young people, if you're interested, we had an arrangement to have young people venture into agriculture, and that was my breakthrough into agriculture. I would say I already mentioned, lack of access to and control of productive resources. And then again, technology, like you said, it got to a point I finished producing, right? And then I needed the combined harvester. A combined harvester is expensive for any farmer so we need government and private investors to come into this system. Because of I couldn't access combined harvester, I lost about 40% of my produce.
40%?
Yes.
And that's 40% of your investment also wiped out?
Exactly. And this is me being quite conservative, I would say. And if I didn't understand, if I wasn't working in the sector, like I have friends who have, ventured and then they had such issues and then they're like, no, never again. So it is having access to these things, mentorship, like you said, financing was a problem. Finance was a problem. Lucky for me, I had personal savings, and then I had to look to a family member to invest. And that is how I got into it. But imagine in a system where banks are totally reliant on collateral. How does a young person who has no collateral begin to even discuss financing with a bank? So these are some of the issues that prevent young people from getting into agriculture. And so I was very happy when the issue of mentorship, because that was really my breakthrough to say, okay, well, I can do this because someone is holding my hand, someone is leading me into it. And I would like to commend the government. The government has developed a large area of land in Bolsa South, that's in Fumbisi, for rice production. But how many young farmers know about it?
From what you know, young farmers like you don't know about it.
No,
right?
Not many of them.
Well, what are the terms of it? You can access it, and they provide the technology for you that it's already there to access and improve yields?
I wouldn't be able to tell exactly, but then I know that you have to go through the district agric office and put in an application and things. I think for now, that place is almost already full. So if we develop such areas of land and then tell the youth that, okay, you can access this and you can do that, that's a great way to start. I'd also like to say that last year, I tried to access drone technology to do broadcasting of the rice seeds. It wasn't feasible.
Why?
One, the company said they needed to do at least 100 acres.
That's a drone company?
Yes. Okay. They needed to have at least 100 acres of land before they were able to come in. And then at the time, they were charging about, I think, between 25 and 30 cedis per acre, which was still quite expensive. And I understood them because even accessibility to the farm was an issue. The roads are terrible. So they have to bring all the equipment. They need to come with generators and everything to be able to ensure that all these things work. So not having rural facilities also, would aid in technology adoption in agriculture, in my opinion.
Fascinating example. I mean, drone is a technology now that it's pretty common in farming, but so what you're saying is that this almost takes out smallholder farmers from enjoying the benefits of technology, for example, because you're so small, the drone company says it's not worth our while to do, how many acres did you?
I do 10.
Only 10, yes, because, and you're charging you 30
cedis.
So that's what, times 10. Too small for them to invest all of that to come.
Absolutely.
That is a big deal. I want to open this up for our audiences and guests in here. If you have a comment on anything that's been said so far, the research, just press the button and introduce yourself and just have a go. But any of you want to comment on that challenge with how do you, because even for the large holder farmers, they're struggling, the adoption is small. And then you have smallholder farmers, and we know majority of our farmers are smallholder farmers, peasant farmers, yes, right? Subsistence, etc. The problem significantly escalates for them. It is a multiplier effect for them. If the big holder farmers are struggling. You can imagine what is happening to our majority smallholder farmers. I don't know what your take is on that.
Yes, to a large extent, there have been a number of innovative projects from MOFA. But I think that as a country, we do not have the interest of others at heart. Now, I say that because we failed or we become greedy to share information. What is needed, for instance, if I'm bringing a tractor to my place or you're bringing a drone, you need to make sure that the people around you, you inform them. When you do that, it actually reduces your cost. But in my years of active involvement in the industry, you realize that even the person you call your partner will hide information from you. That information which is critical to harness the collective work you people are doing. And it is the lack of information sharing that is becoming a major challenge for even the youth in what they do now, the development. And the technology issue, we are quickly adopting technology rather than trying to domesticate technology. The cost of technology adoption is so high. We buy a lot of agricultural machinery from outside without taking the time to understand the technology. After a year or less of operating, the technology fails to work, and your money is gone. You've got to go back to the drawing board to look for money again, either to buy a new technology or to go and lease or otherwise. So we need to find a way throughout this. Then again, the system must have a regulatory approach. I think that the way we adopt and bring in technology into the country must have some regulatory system. In that, at the end of the day, if you look at the amount of money we spent on the purchase of technology, whether soft or hard technology, is so much that if we continue to go on that trend, we will continue to adopt technology without any serious evaluation of the output of that technology. Now, smaller holder farmers need to start looking at a block farming system. Because in her case, if it was a block farming, it would have been much easier for the drone to come in and do 100 acres and go. But the smaller holder farmers have 5 acres here, and you have to move about 10 miles to get to the next smaller holder farmer. You need to move another something miles. Meanwhile, the roads are so bad. Sometimes if you go to some of the areas, it will take you hours to even move your 4x4 or very good pickup to that side. Meanwhile, what they are paying you is so small. So we need to look at it very well. And the other thing about the smaller holder farmers is there are group, but they are not really group. They call themselves, we refer to their farmer-based organizations. In India, they are called the producer organizations. But they are yet to understand fully what it means by farmer-based organization, or as a group, what they need to do to be able to access some of these things. And it comes to capacity building, which you earlier alluded to. So we'll need to find a way through all these systems and make sure that we streamline from the regulatory, the capacity building, and the access to land, because the issue of land is because we do not have agricultural land banks. So if we have agricultural land banks, then the block farming, youth access to land for agricultural purposes and others can be resolved.
Interesting. I know the Agric Ministry has a lot of interventions to address this, and we'll hear from them shortly. But let me hear from all of you. I see a hand there. Yes, please introduce yourself and let's go. wherever you are, or either on many social media platforms and also in the auditorium here, you can interact with us with your questions or comments. Yes, please.
All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Hamon Mensah. I work with Solidaridad West Africa. Two things broadly. I mean, based on the submissions that have been made by the speakers, I think that broadly there are two things that we should look at where if we have to improve adoption of technology. The first one is cost, and then the second one is the capacity of those who receive the technology to convert them into action, especially in the area of information services. From the cost angle, for example, in Africa, Kenya is a very good example that all of us cite. And I believe that there's a very strong correlation between the fiscal policy in Kenya and technology adoption. So for example, in Ghana, where we tax virtually everything, it becomes too expensive to adopt technology. And so if we are deliberate about deploying solar technology, for example, what is the government's fiscal policy with respect to solar technology? Are farmers getting a tax rebate or something of the sort? Recently, we heard that the MPs are getting tax rebate on V8s. Can we do a similar thing for farmers when it comes to some of the technologies that they deploy? Still on the cost side, I think that pricing models also have to be looked at. So for example, the speaker who mentioned the deployment of solar technology intimated that the borehole alone is 11,000, the solar system is 35,000, that's like 46,000. There are other costs that must come into play. Eventually, he'll be ending up between 50 and 60,000 in deploying something that he would need for just maybe 2 hectares of land. Can we look at pricing models, for example, to pay as you go? So it becomes irrigation as a service, so you don't have to pay upfront. Right. So basically, the person who owns the irrigation system comes to do the irrigation and charges you for maybe the quantity or the liters of water that is deployed on your farm and so on. So you don't have to put up the entire amount in terms of deploying the technology. The other thing is financing structures. New things are coming up. Technology is evolving, and financing must evolve or must adapt to be able to finance some of these things. Very often what we have seen is that financing stays where it is. A banker once told me that what they don't know, they don't do. How can we begin to engage commercial banks, fund managers, so they can begin to adapt their financing structures to meet evolving technology? I believe if all of these things are done, it will help in improving the adoption of technology. The final thing is, if the farmer gets, let's say, a piece of information on weather or the type of soil and so on. Now, here's a typical example. Currently, there are handheld soil scanners that farmers can use to assess the nutrients in the soil and so on. So let's say after I have done that, am I now able to go somewhere where I can get fertilizer formulated in proportions that are able to improve my soil? I mean, formulators in Ghana or globally would formulate fertilizers using average, and so is NPK something, 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 and it has to be used for onion and groundnut and whatever. So you have a situation where even though I have used a soil scanner and I know exactly what I need to improve the quality of my soil, I'm unable to move on that because what I have in the system by way of fertilizer is not appropriate or cannot address the problem that I have. So I believe that some of these technologies or some of these innovations have to be looked at if we have to improve upon the adoption of technology.
Thank you very much. I see another, a couple of hands here. Yes?
Thank you very much. So I want, my name is Majid Mohammed from the Canadian High Commission.
Good.
I work with Global Affairs Canada. I want to start by first thanking HEFA for the research. I think the findings are timely because right now, Canada is supporting the Ministry of Food and Agriculture through our MARC program to develop an e-agriculture policy, which will come with a strategy and implementation plan. So some of these findings hopefully will get factored into the national policy. But I want to ask, the low usage of technology among the youth, particularly 12% for Ghana. to be interesting to drill down whether there is some gender disparity in this also.
Okay, whether more men or
more men or more women, so
Okay.
that policies can be targeted specifically to these things. Thank you.
Heifer, do you want to attempt is there a disaggregation of that data? Is there the gender question in the data maybe could assist us appreciate it a bit more? I'd like to take your yes. Kasha, you want to yes,
hello?
go on.
Yeah, go ahead. No.
I think it
okay,
works.
okay. Just a quick comment on what Hammond Mensah, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so the issue of financing, I think that we need to de-risk the sector. That's one of the major issues.
The sector is too risky.
So, I mean, the person who is financing, he says, the bank says, I don't finance what I don't know. Okay. Where the issue of agri insurance, we don't have a weather indexing. So once there's no weather indexing, the insurance company doesn't want to do, because you're basically it's rain-fed agriculture. You take the poultry sector, for instance. They're having problems with feed now. So they're actually starving the chickens. So what will happen is that once he's starving the chickens, he can't get the right weight, he can't get the right revenue, he can't pay back his loan. So the financing, the person who's financing doesn't want to finance it. One other thing I think we've also done in terms of the policy is also to focus more on production than we are doing a supply side agri-production and not demand-driven. So we are not doing, we're not looking at the market and producing to feed the market. We are focusing on producing and then looking for the market. And that's a problem. So we take NAFCO, NAFCO is supposed to buy surpluses. But NAFCO is giving out contracts to people to go into the market to go and purchase. What happens is that then once you're competing with people on the market to purchase produce, you're driving the price up. And NAFCO is state-owned, they have money. So if we're looking at NAFCO as from what I thought it would be, you look at NAFCO, it buys the surplus, it keeps the surplus. Now, if the prices are going too high, like now the poultry industry can't buy maize because the bag is about 160 cedis, you begin to push some of the maize that you have the surplus you have bought into the market to drive the price down. And it works for the market. Because you might have bought the surplus at, let's say, 68 cedis when it was not in glut. It was in glut. And then you store properly, you wait. When the prices are going up, you feed the market, you drive the price down. But now NAFCO is in the market buying the produce themselves. So they drive out the thing.
It's interesting because I know already so there have been the commodity exchange.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is supposed to like be the market, solving the market problem.
Yeah, but the commodity exchange, you need to be part of the commodity exchange. You need to go register, and then they have warehouses, you go and put the thing, and then that also is a warehouse inventory system. So you can take the receipt from the commodity exchange and actually go to a finance house to go and borrow to go and continue your operations. Okay, so it's in its fledgling stage, so it's now growing. We hope that eventually it will get to a stage where, it will be full-fledged and we can make the maximum benefit. The last thing I want to talk about is the problem she was facing, and my good friend, Farmer Morrison, also referred to it. The thing about agricultural pooling. So I use drone technology at my end as well. But what I needed to do was also to get other smallholder farmers who are around. And then I pulled them together. So once the drone came, it worked for me and worked for the others as well. The thing also is that I was looking for a planter in the Volta region. And there was only one private person who had one. The Adidome Farm Institute also had one, but they were using it for training. Tractor had to bring me a planter from Ijira.
All the way?
Yes, I paid 6,000 cedis for transportation.
Yeah.
Wow. So if we can create agricultural pools, so Volta region has an agricultural pool, tractors, 20, 30 tractors, we can do a public-private partnership. I'm not a fan of government handling such institutions. So a private person, 30 tractors, you can use technology to tractor to let people request for some of these facilities. There are planters. Look, the smallholder 2-acre farms, they're using planters if you make it available. Because when they come and plant for me, they're just there next door. Because they will charge you the same rate as you probably use human hand to do. So what you do is that if you can get a large pool, they are prepared to come and work. So once you have 2 acres here, 2 acres here, 3 acres here, 4 acres here, they will come.
Yeah.
But if we can get these pools working, because look, I work with Action Aid in the Volta region, and there was a problem. There are 3,000 women farmers who couldn't get access to tractor services because they have to wait for the men's, the field of men to be plowed before they get their services. And they plant late because of that.
Okay.
Some of these things
But,
we can
very
solve through
interesting.
policy.
And I noticed in the report that HEFA put out that one of the recommendations is definitely institutional support to farmers, smallholder farmers in particular. I want to hear more of your comments and contributions from the audience. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Kindly pull the, yes.
Is that better? Is it okay now?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. My name is Mawuli Aside, and I work for the University of Missouri Assistance Program, Ghana. Hello?
Please go on. Please go on.
Thank you. I probably want to associate myself with the commendation and appreciation of HEFA's data analysis and the insight they have shared. And I could probably say a lot of things, but I just want to make it brief. First of all, I want to point out the fact that, and probably others may be aware, of course, or almost everybody may be aware, the fact that I think farming or agriculture is not profitable enough in Ghana, and that is the bottom line. And as we try to do the analysis and to do the comparisons, also try to see the level of adoption among youth in the different countries, we probably need to of agriculture among the different countries to see whether that is the driving force for the different levels of adoption. Because I think when people don't find money in the activity, they are generally not attracted. And from my experience, both in Ghana as a farmer and as a development worker, I think that is the conclusion I've come to from diversity of experiences. Appropriate technology, and especially e-technology, thank you, is definitely important, especially e-tech for attracting the youth, given the smartphone and the different apps, the social networks and all that exist. But the rewards are definitely important. The scale of operations is very important. In fact, for smallholder farmers, there's a very wide description of what is the small-scale farmer, depending on the crop and all that. Even for startups who are trying to venture into commercial farming, the scale of operation is also important. And all that have implications for profitability and sustainability. There's a whole lot of mindset change that is required. I think somebody talked about the issue of farmers being organized and all that, and the issue of farmer-based organizations, which personally I've been trying to talk about farmer business organizations to kind of help in the reorientation from the fact that you may be a group, but you may just be a training group, but you need to change into a business-oriented group that is trying to identify and acquire services for yourselves and all that. At one of the projects that we are running, which is funded as part of the Modernizing Agriculture program that Majid spoke about, the third mark program, one of the things we are working on is a model on farmer-based organization training, which is being deployed through the Department of Agric and the ministry's work to help in doing part of this reorientation. And I think that is one of the kind of solutions that may help in that direction. But I think I would want to pause here because of time. Thank you very much.
And I want to hear more from the audience. I'm curious. I mean, if you, yes, please. Do we have farmers in our midst? I know the peasant farmers are represented. Yes, at the back there. I want to hear from you. I mean, the research talks a lot about lack of finance as some of the barriers to technological adoption. Lack of finance, the land tenure system, capacity building. I want you to hear your experiences, but also most importantly, the recommendations that they've made. What for you will be the recommendations, say policy interventions that could help address the challenges you face in adopting policy? Yes, madam. Yes.
Okay, my name is Faustina. I work at the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, but I also work with a network of young African researchers in agriculture based in Cape Town. And I was a bit fascinated about the statistics on land, because...
The statistics on land. Can we get her a better microphone that's more stable, please, so we can hear what she's saying? Yes. There's one behind you. Great.
Okay, so the land question, what we in research call it, at least in the agrarian discourse, we call it the land question, is something that we have been working on within the network of African researchers for the past 7 years across the entire African continent. And when we talk about land access, we also see a lot of specificities that if you are not really paying attention to such specificities, you're likely to recommend a lot of access or ownership issues. We realize that in terms of the Southern and Eastern African region, their experience with colonialism was totally different. They had settler colonialism where land was taken away from them. So in post-colonialism or post-independence Eastern and Southern Africa, land issues are different from what we have in Western Africa. And so when they talk access, they are not talking about access in terms of we talking access in terms of ownership. When you come to the Western African sub-region and you ask somebody about land access, they are thinking in terms of land that they can have and own. But if you talk typically about youth in Eastern and Southern Africa, they are talking about land that first they can access and use and possibly in future own. And also in the Western African sub-region, we also see a certain dominance of tree crop production, that's perennial production. And perennial production comes with that, having that long-term access to land, compared to Eastern Africa, where many of the agripreneurs are into cereals and annual crops. And so I was a bit fascinated about to what extent is this just a perception, and how does this perception of me accessing land and owning land even serves as a barrier for people to even, youth in the Western African sub-region, to even venture into agriculture in the first place? And to what extent do we know the kinds of access rights in terms of use, value, or ownership that exist within the Western African sub-region, and how these differences then encourage youth to go into agriculture through various ways of accessing land for different categories of crops?
Thank you very much. There were hands there. Yes, the gentleman in yellow.
My name is Francis Money. I'm from... The issue we're talking about, one of the challenges here is agriculture is not attractive. From the youth perspective, I see that agriculture is not attractive. Why? Because it's not profitable. The farmer produces the crops, and at the end, the actors come in and buy it at a very low price. So it makes, the farmer is not making profit. The son or the daughter is seeing this thing and sees that the father is not making profit from the venture he is in. And so it doesn't look attractive to that young one to come in. And that's one of the challenges I see is there. So if there's something we can do about pricing for the farmers, then we can find a way of resolving the issue of agriculture being attractive and getting the youth to go into it. It's one of the challenges. Then the issue about land accessibility. If you take a place like Eastern Region, Greater Accra, a young guy wants to go in for land to do some agriculture, and you have the issues of land gas coming in, interfering, and some chiefs also fighting. For instance, my company went to Eastern Region to secure 400 acres of land to do pineapple production. And here we've secured the land from the chiefs, and one young chief, sub-chief, comes in and says the land belongs to him, who submit to this big chiefs. And he keeps fighting us with langars, beating some of my workers. And so you send people to the farm and they are scared and want to run out. They don't want to do their job again. These are some of the challenges we are facing in the area of land accessibility.
Interesting. Is that all?
I want to add something in the area of education.
Okay.
The smallholder farmer we are working on, we work with a lot of smallholder farmers. I have access to more than 500 plus smallholder farmers that I'm working with. And they are not educated, yes, but you go on the ground and when they see new people coming in to impart to them new knowledge, some of them take it. For instance, this year, we saw that the rainfall delayed a bit. But we, Grow For Me, we are using a technology where we are able to use forecast, 14 days forecast. And so with that, I was able to use our technology to analyze when there will be possible rainfall. We advise the farmers in the Seche Dumasi area to plant between 20th of March to 15th of April. Most of the farmers who planted within that period, if you check our system, now they've received more than 433 millimeters of rainfall, enough for maize growth. And so,
and I want to ask you something based on the research. The research talks about literacy for the farmers and training them. So you have this technological intervention to fix the rain prediction challenge. To what extent are the farmers that you are training and educating on the use and adoption of this receptive of the literacy you are giving them in this area? Are they receptive of it? Do you see them, after you've trained them, do you see them actually implementing and applying what you've taught them?
Initially, it was difficult. Why? The farmer uses the old primitive method where they read the weather by themselves. They'll look at the wind direction like they were saying. And so when we told them that from our technology, you can plant within this period, some of them were, nah, we can't accept this, because they were scared. But immediately, some of them did, and within the week, they saw rainfall. The rest started coming up, and they started implementing.
Okay.
And so sometimes it's difficult at the early stage, but you just have to continue pressing it. Okay. And they will take it.
Very good intervention. I see a hand here, but there was one at the back, right? If you can stay, I'll come to you, sir. If you can stay at the back, because I see a few hands. I'll come back to you. Don't worry, I'll come back. I'll come back to you, because please make a note for me. Okay, don't worry, forgive me. I want to get a few more. Please make notes for me so that when we come, you can hit them for me. Yes? Let's say yes, please.
Hello. Hi, my name is Paul Asiedu. I'm with Tech Shelter.
Oh, there are more hands here, right?
Yeah.
Don't worry. So I'll come. So I see more hands here. I'll come to you, and I'll come to yes. Please go on.
So I said my name is Paul Asiedu. I'm with Tech Shelter. Our focus is on using greenhouses. Greenhouses are clearly technological solutions to some of the problems we have in agriculture. But some problem I've seen even in that sector, aside knowledge and other things, is a specific market with a specific volume that everybody can tap into. Because people have their own target markets in small and bits and pieces. So people grow the crop and they meet their target after a particular season. Before the next growing season or through the cycle, they are not able to meet the target. They start borrowing from A, B, and C to meet that target. I think that if we can solve the problem of a central pool market, where we know that our total collective effort would be targeted at producing 20 tons to meet X demand with a fixed price, I can then go and look for loans and build more greenhouses, knowing that where to sell it is not a problem. How much I'll sell it for will not be a problem. That will help us finance all these interventions we're talking about. To adopt technology to do more, you need to be sure that the market you are looking for is not so volatile and swinging everywhere along the year. So I think that getting a specific market and negotiating for good pricing is important for farmers within our sector and other sectors.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, something else I observe is with the equipment, when you're talking about equipment, if we would have a way to get some of our partners in other countries, in Ghana we have people importing used cars, use this, use that. I have not seen a group deciding to import used agri equipment. I'm not saying buy brand new ones, they could be very expensive. Can we get our people to start looking at used agri equipment that can come in at low cost for farmers to begin to share and use this equipment?
Very interesting suggestion. And I guess my climate change colleagues and friends who say, but not, when it's old, it might have an impact on the climate, and then eventually it will have an impact on the farming. And so there's a whole cycle that then also begins to evolve.
I understand that. But I think if we encourage our own people like Kantanka and the rest to begin to produce replacement parts. Replacement parts for those.
If you don't mind, because of sake of time, I want to, and I see that like people on Zoom too that I want to
okay, but my final take is the consistency of supply of inputs. You get excited about a particular variety of crop, and you are zooming into it to produce more. All of a sudden, it's no longer available. You get excited about a particular activity, you need an input for a particular production, fertilizers, seeds, even fruit set hormones. And just when you need it the most, it is nowhere, nobody has it, and the farmer is stuck with his crop and has to adapt to different other cultural practices to try and survive. So if we have a way to get government support to either have these locally produced breeds to meet those international standards so that we have them locally available, we will not struggle to look for seeds. During the lockdown, it was difficult to bring some stuff.
Okay.
So difficult. So thank you.
Great input. I want to come back to my panel, but I want to take a quick question or comment from Zoom, because I know our Zoom friends, some of you have some interventions. I will project the Zoom link onto the screen here so we can see and hear the questions. Okay, this is one that was sent in. It's from Daniel Owusu Krante. He says about technology, innovation, commercialization, or adoption. From academia point of view, most young innovators design technologies without having deep customer insights. As a lecturer, I have been assisting student innovators commercialize their innovation. And the problem I encounter with them is developing without having target beneficiaries in mind. I am now supporting young innovators go through design thinking and innovating training to solve this problem. Thank you. That's a very good intervention indeed. Do we have more that I would like to share? Okay. Well, when there's more, let me so that I can call on it. I want to. There are comments and questions in front. Okay, great. So I'll come to you now for brief 2 minutes each reaction to whatever I've heard, and I'll come back to the two of you here. Forgive me, hold on for me, and then the three of you here, and then we'll probably begin to wrap up. Let me hear, yes, your quick 2 minutes intervention to.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me make an emphatic statement here. We should stop the free in Ghana's agriculture. Free. I mean, you want to start a business, and you want government to come in free here, free there, free. No. You see, this is the reason why the industry is not growing. Over dependency on the agriculture, on government. This is one major reason the industry is not growing. Free, it doesn't work. If you want to be a car importer, do you go to government to provide some free thing? You look for your money. Now, let me also add that it's not everyone that can be a farmer. Let's get it clear. It's not everybody that can be a farmer. And it doesn't have to be like that. What we are working on, we have over almost 8 million, according to the last population and agriculture census. The next one is coming. And we are projecting that about 12 million or 40 million of the population are actively engaged in agriculture. Now, this is the risk effect. You have that number of population in agriculture, but lack the essential skills to increase their productivity, yields, to produce food to feed the country.
Why?
That number, because their skills are very low. So what we should be doing, and you see, the point is that We have so many farmers in the industry, and government is not able to bring in any agricultural social intervention policies that can affect all of them. One good example is the Planting for Food and Jobs, which is only catering for maybe 3 million people out of over 40 million people. What we need to do as a country is to introduce an economic skills diversification, make farmers to be able to acquire newer skills in other industries so that they move out. Then the rest that are left can be supported heavily to produce food for all of us to eat. If you go to US, they have less than 1.2% who are farmers. And they produce food for over 400 million plus people, plus Ghana and other African countries. What we need to do is to make sure that we have fewer people, support them heavily to produce food continuously. You see, the issue about finance is that in other countries like Brazil, Argentina, and the likes that we refer to all the time, they have special purpose vehicle companies that come in. For instance, they have about 1,000 farmer-based organizations in a localized area or smaller holder farmers. The special purpose vehicle company comes in and absorbs all their debts and everything onto their books. So in terms of deploying technology, mechanization, seeds, and what have you, the company takes it and delivers it on behalf of the credit. So let's say if my company is going for credit from a bank, I go for it on behalf of these people, but not on the books of the smaller holder farmers or the farmer-based organization who do not have the capacities or even the collateral.
So there's an intermediary.
Exactly.
So that the farmer, the smallholder farmer, is not directly going to the bank.
No.
Where you are guaranteed he will be rejected.
Exactly.
Okay. There's a guy with a muzzle in the middle who goes and takes the finance and then goes to.
Yes.
Okay.
And the issue that was raised, you see, over the years we have developed production policies, and Castro made point to the fact that we need to start looking at an agriculture market-oriented policy. This has been integrated partially in some of our policies, but it does not actually stand out. We now need to look at, okay, market intelligence, because that is what gives you what you should produce, what variety you should produce, and whether you are producing for the factory, or you are producing for human consumption, or you are producing for livestock. We need to develop a well-structured and strategic policy, which is market-driven and not all productivity and food security. Let me also add that the cost of maintenance in the agriculture sector, in terms of technology and engineering, is a prohibitive structure towards adopting technology. I'll give you one example.
And very briefly, in 30 seconds.
We did a work with GIZ, and in the 3 northern regions, we counted about 140 tractors that were lying idle. The oldest one was about 4 years. The youngest among them were about 3 years. As a result of maintenance, oil change, spare parts, and the likes. The major reason why they were lying is that when they bring people from Kumasi who are from either the mining sector or the construction sector, they charge them more money. Now, when they come, they remove some parts and say, oh, we are going to buy. But when they go, they don't buy, they don't come back, and they waste their money. Sometimes it costs about 5,000, 10,000 to bring somebody from Kumasi to Tamale or Yendi or
come and repair.
To repair.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, you are not guaranteed of repair.
Okay. We're going to be wrapping up in the next 5 minutes here in auditorium. And so I'll take the comments on this, my right, and then my left, and then we'll wrap up from the panel. But as you know, we've been live on the JoyNews channel on the Multi TV. We've been live on YouTube. We've been live on Facebook. And of course, many of you have joined us, as you've seen on the screens, on Zoom. And so for our friends who are joining us around the globe via the JoyNews channel and our many social media platforms, particularly on the JoyNews channel, we thank you very much for joining us and watching us live on the live streams, especially on YouTube and on Facebook. And of course, tuning in using your Digibox on JoyNews to watch us live since morning. We are grateful that you managed to join us, and thank you very much for doing so. You can get a copy of the report, which will be launched very, very shortly once we launch. I want to take views quickly from this side. Yes, and I have a microphone there. Yes, I wanted to make it very brief in a minute so that we can have everybody else chip in before we wrap up.
Thank
Yes,
you,
sir.
Evans, thank you. My name is Abdurrahman. I work with the Netherlands Embassy here in Accra. My comment is very brief, actually, and I think the conversation we are having here, it all boils down to policy and enabling environment. Nothing more, nothing less. All the issues that have been raised by the experts on the high table, it boils down to policy, research and development. Even this research that has been done by HIFA, how many of our policy makers are present here? How is policy and research meeting? So it's all about policy, and I think that is my very basic take on this subject.
Fantastic. And just to indicate, we had a very few directors from the Agric Ministry who were present, and so they sat and listened. In fact, we had a commitment from the head of policy, planning and evaluation that that's something that they want to take. Unfortunately, because you've spoken already, I want to hear from the lady. Okay, let me exercise my powers for affirmative purposes. Yes, please go on. I can hear you, but can we get him a microphone, because that microphone hasn't been stable. Yes.
Thank you very much. My name is Sandra Boatma Kushito. I'm coming from the University of Ghana, and I'm just curious to ask from the MOFA what their plans are, to provide extension services to youth or farmers who are in agriculture. You go to that and they tell you that there's no fuel for the motors that MAG has provided. So post-MAG, what are their plans for providing sustained extension services? Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have a Minister of Agric rep who would like to intervene on that question? We do? Yeah. Okay, fantastic. Please, can I please get a MOFA rep a microphone for me to answer that question, and any other interventions you would like to make?
Okay. Thank you very much.
May we know your name, please, and your designation from the ministry?
Yes, my name is Paul Siame. I'm the Director of Agric Extension Services.
Oh, fantastic. So here we go.
For the past 4 years, or more than 4 years, through support from the Canadian government, we've been operating the modernizing agriculture in Ghana. And regularly we provide fuel and logistics to agricultural extension agents. I'm wondering which district where that situation is. If the question is, after MAG, what will happen? The various district agric offices are under the local government service. That's the district assemblies. And I'm sure plans are in place to provide the appropriate logistics when MAG lapses or when MAG is no more. But currently, the motorbikes are there. They have uniforms. They have the vehicles for supervising the last-end extension agents in the field. So this is what we can say for now. The logistics may not be enough, but there's a modest supply of logistics on monthly basis to support field extension services. I would like to know the location, which district that is experiencing that. But that's what I have to say for now.
Okay, great. Castro, you have a question for? Yeah, please go on.
I just wanted to find out, sir, what's your current strength in terms of extension officers, and what's the ratio from extension officer to farmer?
Yes.
Averagely, how many farmers does one extension officer serve?
Yes. The situation as we speak now is one extension agent attends to 706 farmers. The standard number should have been 500. The number should have been 500. But we are complementing this shortage in numbers with use of ICT-enabled opportunities to get. For example, radio is a major one we are using as a ministry in collaboration with the private sector to get agricultural technical knowledge to most of our farmers. So the numbers are not as we want, but compared with some 5 years ago, where it used to be one agent attending to 2,000 farmers, the situation now, following the recruitment of 2,700 extension agents in 2018, the number is what I'm telling you now. We have one attending to 706 farmers. But there are plans, the ministry is seeking cabinet approval for further engagement of extension agents to improve the current situation.
That's great improvement. And yes, I will take the last two here, and then I will wrap up with my panelists. Yes, please.
Thank you, Evans.
Can you please make it brief for me? I'll be very grateful.
Okay, great.
Sure.
Yes, because time is fast spent. My name is Bob Hodgson. I'm with Tech Shelter. We provide greenhouse support services for farmers in Ghana. Okay, so I'm a typical example of the topic here today. And because agriculture is so big and the issues are so big, sometimes we deviate and divert. So you notice that we're trying to speak about the youth, but we then end up talking about agriculture in general and the problems we are facing. Because ordinarily, the youth who is coming into it too will face the same challenges or whatsoever. But in the building blocks of solving the thing step by step, the youth today, like myself, like TTL, like Quidex, like Paul, we are doing exactly what we are trying to do from the research. We are building applications, whether we are doing it by SMS or we are doing it by apps or whatever. We are providing services today. But the real insight is we want media lead the conversation, get us who are doing it, who are suffering, and who are succeeding to tell the story today, just like Farmer Morrison and my brother and this lady here is saying. Currently, we are being invited by University of Ghana to come back. We did our thesis and researches in the College of Agriculture. It's still lying there. We are supposed to come back and help them do design thinking into helping students today to create businesses in agribusiness, going through the entire value chain, looking for the gaps and set up businesses. Road Tractor is business is because of the lack of finding tractors in some places in Ghana. So he is solving that challenge. I'm solving a challenge in greenhouse farming, providing support service for them. We went to study in Kenya and Israel, and we are back and we are solving it. But we are facing other challenges. There are youth in Ghana doing it. There are very few of us who are succeeding. Majority of us are failing. But because it's a whole topic.
I mean, I'm sure everything. A lot of it has come up.
Has come up today. I went to Silicon Valley and I noticed that the academia works directly with the startups. Google. People are developing not because they are so brainy. There's a professor sitting somewhere, has years of research, picks a bright student and goes like, we're going to share 40, 50, 60, 70. Go and develop this. When there's a problem, come out, troubleshoot it with my research assistants. We'll give you solutions. It's a complete build-up. I went to Google Farms. Google has a farm, you know that. And I saw it. I was using our applications to test whether they have disease on their crops. I have it live. You get it? We should go back to university. 4 years in agriculture, I didn't know what a tomato plant was. Let's break it. By second year, I shouldn't be in the classroom. I should be interning for the lady. Absolutely. For a whole year. I should come back with field knowledge. And the next year, I should be working in a bank or in an industry where I'm learning the soft skills. So I'm going to combine my field knowledge, my classroom knowledge with business. So I know how to wake up early, keep my books before I finish school. I don't have to wait and finish school before I come and do these things. You get it? I went into mining and I'm back in agribusiness. Now, the skills I've learned in mining and supply chain, I've brought it back. That's why Paul and I, we are doing the greenhouse farming. You get it? So it should be intentional. Skills, he mentioned, is skills. And when we solve that little bit of skills, then the other thing is what the man said, regulation and policy. We can talk, but if we don't have regulation, we don't have policy makers intentionally. I know people who are extension officers and their bikes are parked, saying, you know that too. Their bikes are parked. I know a lady I was with one yesterday, she's never used a bike because her mother says that don't drive a bike. Yeah. So the bike is parked. But somebody needs to go and meet a farmer and talk to, but the person can't go. And the person is going by Trotsky, and by 3 o'clock, he's going to pick a child. So the issues are big and rife at the big level. When the youth, we are also coming in, we are facing it. But you see, disruptors don't wait for the challenges to be solved. So the few of us, Road Tractor, myself, Quidex, we are entering and disrupting the middleman conversation, and we are plugging them, we are adding a few monies there. Then we go to the supply chain side, we plug it, and we solve a few monies there. Grow for me, we say, okay, the blockchain farming we can't do. I grow for me, I'm going to get a big land, do block farming, come and invest, I'll give you money, all that. So we are doing it in silos. Let's be intentional about it in a national discourse.
Yeah.
Lead the conversation.
Fantastic point. And especially in being intentional also, not just targeting all groups of farmers, youth. Yeah. Because this is a conversation we're having today, youth. Because the older farmers, they are growing, they are dying, they are fading out. How do you make it sexy enough for the young man to feel attracted to agriculture and use technology to enhance yields? Yes, please, last comment.
Hi, Evans. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Ohinewa Brown. I represent Action Aid Ghana. So I am quite excited about the research and all the things that we've raised today, because for us, we have been, as Castro has mentioned earlier, we have been working hand in hand with all the stakeholders, basically to ensure that we support our smallholder farmers. Regarding unemployment, I think the key issue that has been raised in the research is unemployment. How do we create, how do we make the farming how do we create incentives, basically to get our youth to participate in farming? I think one of the issues that we need to look at as stakeholders is basically to ensure that we create an enabling environment for our youth to participate in farming. Now, how do we do it? If we need the youth to be part and utilize technology, one of the things we need to do is to also look at the cost which has been raised.
And that was Haifa International Ghana's breakfast meeting and launch of the Youth Smallholder Farmers in Agritech Africa report under the theme, The Future of Africa's Agriculture, the Role of Youth and Agritech in Ghana. We brought that to you live from the Elisa Hotel in Accra. Time now for News Desk. I am Daniel Dazi. Let's take our headlines this hour.